Welcome back, Rage Nation. Got myself Pete here.
That's not really exciting.
You got Senior Dixon.
I don't think that's appropriate.
And you got Monsieur Leopard.
Explorers deserved it. No.
Absolutely.
I was disgusted. I cannot believe they've done this.
Why is wacky? Why is that good? It's just nonsense.
I disagree on that. That's not possible.
We're getting the band back together. We're on a mission. Yeah.
Now we've got a whole new list of things to complain about.
Welcome back, Rage Nation. We are at it again. Got myself Pete here, and we got a nice episode for you all today. We are going to be talking about the good old Shenlong. Some people have terrible flashbacks when they hear the name. Some people don't see him a lot anymore. It depends on your meta. But we got Dixon, of course, on with us. And then I feel like the big promoter of these Strong 10 Thunders Masters has definitely been Draysen. I've loved your videos that you've done on your YouTube channel there, Draysen. They're very, very good.
Thank you, man. That's very kind. I don't shy away from the Stronger Thunder stuff. In fact, I lean very heavily into it. And you mentioned people who haven't seen Shen, and I was thinking, God, it must be nice to be one of those people.
I think people feel the same way. It's almost like the One Ring, right? It shouldn't have been forgotten. People remember Shenlong from like GG 0 and 1 in the very bad times when he was just touching everybody. But now I feel like some people in some metas just don't see him. So I think it's good for people to know because, like my good friend Trevor, he was surprised by the brutal things that Shenlong did to him.
Yeah, I was shocked the first time I played against him. So I remember I was playing against a Polish guy, and I thought, wow, this guy is so much better than me. Like I really thought I was improving at the game. I was doing well. I was coming in and starting to put in some results, and then this guy just floored me. And I thought, wow, that's where I need to be. And then later on, I started playing Shenlong, and I was like, hang on a minute, how much of this was just Shen?
Yeah.
You know?
Okay, maybe it was just it was just the model.
I mean, the player, by the way, was excellent, but Shenlong certainly didn't hurt. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and before we get into the episode, make sure that you guys are checking us out. You can do that on our Discord channel. We always got people popping up through all time zones of the world. And they can tell you what the time zone differences are because Draysen and I couldn't figure that out earlier. You can also check us out on YouTube. We've got videos going up there. Got models that, like, I just took some small videos of models that put up there, occasional battle reports, and then just random other nonsense that we record. And then finally, if you want to support us directly, you can do that at patreon.com/RageQuitWire, where you can support us for as little as, actually, I think it's $3 now because of inflation. Thanks for that. And and then we also have a Weird link. That's going to be in the show notes. I'm not going to say it. But if you buy something directly from Weird, which oddly enough usually isn't until like the Easter sale or like the Black Friday sale, you see a bunch of people buy stuff from Weird, but then besides that, people buy it from other places. But that's fine too. So
I think they'd see a lot more Weird purchases if from our side if they deliver to Europe without customs fees, which they don't. So that's where they end up getting stuffed on our side. I don't blame them, but
that is a very big problem in England lately. If I remember correctly, I was reading finance news, and like a bunch of businesses are leaving England because it's way too expensive because of the customs stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I've stopped ordering stuff from my home country because the customs stuff is just as bad as it was like ordering from the US. I stopped ordering from the US years ago for the same reason, just because it's just too complicated. And now I now live outside of the UK and EU, and ordering from England is just not worth the hassle. Like I'll order it from Austria or from Germany or whatever, and that's honestly easier. So bit of a shame because I'd love to support Weird. I would.
Yeah, and getting into the episode, looking at that. So Monk's kind of it's a heck of a drug, I'll say. I've been playing probably about 20, 25 games with it now. And the more I play it,
What's your record been?
Say again?
What's your record been over those 25 games, approximately?
I mean,
Wins, losses.
I think I've lost 2 or 3 games.
Right. That sounds about right. Yeah.
It's the thing is, because like I don't think that they're broken, but you forget if you haven't played against Monk in a while, and I haven't before playing Pete and like a couple of people. I forgot. I was like, oh yeah, you have to focus fire like important pieces because if you don't run them out of chi, like there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, it's just definitely it's been, and I think also it depends on the player who's playing Monk, right? Because I think if you mismanage chi and if you don't prep for things that are going to be a problem, like I think when Dixon and I played our last game, I loaded up like 6 chi on Shenlong just because I knew Titania was going to come in with something. So I was like, I need as much chi not just for offense, but also to defend against some of this just random Titania nonsense. So yeah, I just think that it also depends on the player because you can mismanage chi. Early on my games, I learned that where I was like, oh crap, I just ran out of chi and now I'm getting like just demolished.
Yeah, and that is a very important. Now that since we're talking Monk, I personally would say that that's like the biggest thing as a Monk player. Draysen, can you like verify if that's true or not?
Yeah. Why don't you walk us through first what chi is, just for people who are first coming into the keyword Draysen, and then just maybe some of the things you want to focus on when it comes to the chi mechanic.
Sure. So chi is a mechanic which says that every time you activate, you gain a chi. So you get one just for showing up, as Landon would say, and as everybody seems to have adopted. So you get a chi for showing up. And then anytime you take the concentrate action, you're able to take chi instead of focus if you wish. And so those are your ways of gaining chi. In addition to that, if you take damage within 6 inches of Sensei you can gain a chi once per activation there as well. So there are a number of ways to gain chi. And one last way of gaining it is Shenlong 1 has an ability called Spiritual Alignment, on which there is a RAM trigger which allows him to transfer chi between different models so he can pick 2 monks and move things between them. So those are the ways of gaining chi. As for what it does, you are essentially able, after both of you flip a card, or just yourself if it's a simple duel, it works on both simple and opposed duels. After cards are flipped, but before cheating, you're able to spend a chi to add +2 to the total, and that can change the order in which cheating occurs, because if you're only losing the duel by 1, you spend chi, you're now winning it by 1, and they are forced to cheat first. But be aware that you do need to declare spending of chi before cheating, and if you're playing against monks, that's worth keeping in mind. Give your opponent that few moments they need to decide about chi before you just slam down a card, and then it all gets a bit awkward.
I have found that if I was playing against Monk, which I have done before, I would often ask them, like, are you going to use chi? Because sometimes you want to bait it out of them a little bit.
Yes. I would strongly recommend when playing against Monk to ask that, no joke, every single time there is a possibility for them to spend it.
Flip card and go, chi?
It's flip and just be like, spending chi? And because sometimes they'll go nope, and you go great, 13, you're dead.
Well, it makes you think, because people have done that to me. And as the Monk player now, I'm like, oh crap, do they have like a red Joker? Like that would be bad.
Yep. And sometimes, if they get good enough at it, so I play against people who know Monk well because I play it a lot. Yeah. So people really start to get into the habit of chi, no, or chi, and you're like, oh yeah, I suppose I better had. Great, I missed. And it's like, damn it. So as regards to your question at the start there, which is, are you right that one of the ways to sort of deal with monks is to tax their chi? Yes, it is. That is one of the ways to deal with monks. It's to get them to spend their chi as inefficiently as you possibly can. But I would go one little step further, which is to say that chi is a good mechanic. Sorry. Chi is a strong mechanic. Chi is a strong mechanic. Chi is a strong mechanic, but it is almost broken when in combination with very high cards. And so the way that I would choose to deal with chi if I had the opportunity would be, in fact, to attack their hand, not their chi. Because a very good player can manage their chi well enough, probably, to prevent you from doing what you want to do. But Shenlong does not have Arcane Reservoir or access to it. And so, for example, I, as a Thunders player, might look at it and say, right, well, I have access to Charm Warders, and they have access to Shady Dealings, and they have access to Willpower 8 attacks. And I am going to drain your hand by 4 cards, and then we'll see what your chi can do for you then. And that is where all of a sudden monks are invulnerable until they really, really aren't. And then you need to, at the moment you sense weakness, if you smell blood in the blood in the water, you need to just play whack-a-mole and just whack all the monks to death before he gets a fresh hand and some new chi, right? You need to, if you get the feeling for a moment that he can't defend himself, blitz.
Well, to clarify for the listeners real quick, the reason why we're saying this is because monks don't really have damage reduction stuff on them. The reason why we're saying that they're invulnerable, in quotations, is because they just dodge. They just dodge everything until they get hit. And when they get hit, you really see, like most other things in the game, when they get hit, they have some way to mitigate the damage. Monks don't. They either don't get hit or they get blasted.
Yeah, I think there's a couple things with hard to kill that we'll get into, but it's really about it. You can bring the wind golem, to reduce some, range damage, but that's about it. And then stones, for sure.
And a prayer, because once you get hit one time for a flip 3 cards severe, you're like, oh, for crying out loud, why?
Yeah, and then the other way that you see chi being used in this crew is there's a ton of abilities that you will discard a chi to gain X effect. The big one are on the upgrades, which we'll talk about here in a second. And then there's a couple of aggressive chi where you can do irreducible damage and some other effects like that. So once again, if you as the monk player are doing, let's just say the actions on the upgrades a ton, you have to discard a chi to do those actions on the upgrade cards. So that's your chi kind of just going away. And you want to make sure that it's worthwhile when you choose to do those things.
The biggest mini game in a monk game is chi management. Whether you're making them, run out. Because the thing is, even the card management that we were talking about earlier, which is very true, it's still attached to chi. Because you're trying to get them to use chi. For example, we both flip. I flipped a 4, you flipped a 10. I'm the monk player, I use chi, and now I have to cheat as well.
Yeah.
So I wasted a chi, or I used a chi, and I used a card. And when that happens, that's a double whammy. So it's that kind of management that you have to go back and forth over and over again.
Yeah, and I know that there was a bit of discussion at the start of the podcast. I don't know whether it made onto the recording, but we were discussing one of the differences between Shen 1 and Shen 2. And one of them is that Shen 1 allows your monks to concentrate as many times as they wish during a turn, which is a very unique thing to be able to do. And very often what's that used for is on turn 1 to generate a good bank of chi before you move out onto the world, because if you don't do that, you can be in a world of trouble.
Yeah, that's what Harley said. Apparently Harley has some games against Monk, because Harley's they have an insane amount of chi, and it's well, I think they do a lot of front loading on turn 1 and turn 2, and then you just kind of manage it throughout the game as far as that goes. But the other big thing I would say that you want to be aware with Monk is the upgrades. So there's 4 different upgrades. They're all different river styles. So you have the Fermented, you have the Wind, or the Wandering, the High, and then the Low River Monk, or the Low River style. So they each kind of do something innately, kind of like what Perdita's upgrades tended to do before, they got changed a little bit. So when you attach it to Shenlong, it gives him a static ability. And then there's a printed ability that you can do as an action, essentially, that goes to his card. I think it's safe to say that most of the time, Draysen, you're probably just putting Wandering River style on him, and it gives you butterfly jump, and then it gives you a 6-inch push.
Yeah, if I were trying to learn the monk keyword, then I would very, very much feel overwhelmed by the number of options that keyword has. So with chi, with your 4 different styles, with your 4 different, as you say, printed abilities plus optional abilities, and then the fact that your totems can copy those abilities as well. If you were a new player, I would recommend putting your Shen into Wandering River style and never thinking about it again, because it will allow you to just learn to get to grips with the basics without feeling completely overwhelmed by all your options. It will allow you to play on clock. I know that some metas don't worry about that, and if clock's not a thing in your area, then okay. But it is in a lot of the world, and especially in tournaments. And so you can definitely murder your own clock by trying to think about, well, I could go into fermented style and then I would have a 2-inch reach and then I could place myself there and that would be a good position for next turn. Or I could push this guy and take a scheme marker with him, or I could go into this one and then I'd have any, I've lost 2 minutes talking about this already, and my clock's just going down and I'm still no closer to a decision. When you simply think about it in the sense of, do I want to use 4 Winds Punch now or not? No, I don't. Great. In that case, I'm going to charge this thing over here. So that would be my advice. And even if you do think about all those options, very often your decision will be, yeah, Wandering is correct.
Yeah.
So I think that choosing Wandering is a good option most of the time, and then later looking for opportunities to use the other ones is a great way to improve your game.
Yeah, and on top of the push that you get off of it, if there's markers, you can also move them. So if there's schemes, corpses, whatever, within 3 of the model pushing, you basically pick them up and then you can spit them, 3 inches around your model. So that's definitely good in a GG where that matters. Did you have something about Wandering, Dixon, or just the upgrades in general?
No, I was honestly agreeing. The point that I was just gonna add, he already mentioned it. It's just because I'm a great advocate for newer players to just simplify things, because they look at the card and the card will have like 17 different things, and you don't use them. This is the reason why when they first said M3E, they were just gonna like try to put very meaningful actions and stuff on the card, and that's it. They didn't want to like clutter it. I was very happy. And in this case, I think Draysen is doing a very, that's a perfect tip for newer players. It's like, just put this in, don't think about it anymore. Later on, when you're looking at your cards, you may think of something, but for like the very long time being, play just this.
Yeah, and I would say that there is, so like I said, I got about 25 games in right now, and so I spend most of it in Wandering. The next one that I probably used the most was the High River, just for Ruthless. And sometimes Min 3 is good. So like if I wanted to one-shot a model, like maybe a totem or something, or maybe I could hit that, 5 blast damage to just splash on a bunch of models and put out Burning. That was definitely good. But it's mostly for the Ruthless. And then the next one I probably used was the Low River, just because sometimes you need to heal. Sometimes like, okay, we need to heal like 3 models. Let's go. And then I haven't used Fermented yet, but I know when I see a lot of negatives on the board because of maybe mechanics or whatever, that's just going to be good. So just keeping that in my back pocket for when I want to get around those negatives and get positives instead.
So that's interesting. I would say I would reverse low and high in that order, in terms of what I find myself leaning towards. Wandering is top without any question. Fermented is bottom without any question. In terms of regularity of use, when Fermented is good, i.e. Serene Countenance, or trying to attack Lucius too, when he's just saying, well, I'll discard a card and put you on an egg, thanks very much. Or awesome. Lawyers, or whatever it is, well, feel free. But it will just give me a pos flip. So, and the other one, and it is pretty rare, is when you just need a 2-inch reach to engage some models and or sort of place yourself on the other side of them. And when in a very rare situation when you're attacking someone with a very high defensive stat, so the fermented one doesn't require you to beat them, it requires you to meet them.
Yeah.
And if you meet them, they take 3 flat damage. So as you were saying, min 3, sometimes it's good. That said, those are still the least appealing options of the lot. The reason that I would say that I end up playing low more than high is the one thing on the low card that you didn't mention, which is Pebbles in the Water. Pebbles in the Water is the ability that allows you, after flipping card, to spend a chi to add a suit of your choice to the duel. If you are within 3 inches of either Shenlong or one of the totems. And that is quite massive in a few situations. The ones that come to mind are Charm Warders adding the hand-draining Shady Dealings trigger to their Jinx, which is I'm a massive.
Turn 1 and 2, that's
enough
really
Charm
good.
Warders. I just cannot get enough of Charm Warders. They are glorious.
Yeah.
And and the second time that is really regularly handy is you spiritual alignment a bunch of chi onto Shen. And maybe you transfer some Shen turn, some chi to Shen turn 1 with the totems from the Four Winds Golem, and then so Shen's sitting there with about 6 chi. A perfectly reasonable thing to do at that stage, in my opinion, is if you're in low river style, you don't need the Four Winds Punch for whatever reason, or you're already engaged, whatever, is to take a bonus to add. To make yourself take a bonus. So Shen's bonus is a bit of a weird one. It's one of the very few infinite loops that exist in the game. You can bonus yourself to take a bonus, and you can just keep doing that so long as you succeed the duel. And but there's a trigger on that to take the concentrate action, and that allows you to get focus. Or is it take the concentrate action, or is it actually just gain a focus?
It's not concentrate. You just gain focus.
Okay, yeah. Sorry, so target gains focused 1. That's it. Preparations. And so the fact that you can sort of just take a bonus on yourself, and as long as you hit a 6+, you just say, great, I'll spend a chi, and essentially it just allows you to convert chi to focus. Yeah. On most monks, that's not worth doing, because chi is usually more important. But on Shenlong himself, where he can gain such an enormous amount of chi and can sort of recycle his chi by punching people and getting it back, then suddenly having focus and being able to do Irreducible 5 on stat 8 is immensely useful. And so I find low river style quite handy for adding suits to things.
And I will mention
high river,
that,
I do love, but yeah.
All the upgrades have a tome trigger to switch styles. So I think that as you become more comfortable, you'll find spots where that's useful. Mainly, like once you get mixing it up with your opponent, you'll be like, okay, I want to use low river, heal up some, maybe do something cute with Pebbles in the Water. And then, okay, my activation's about to end. Let's do my bonus maybe and switch back to Wandering so I have Butterfly Jump.
Yep. That's one of the more complex lines of play that you can do, and a very good one. It's not used nearly as much as you would think. Yeah. And by the way, there are some very cute little lists out there where you run like 3 Wandering River Monks and 3 Fermented Monks, and you just purposefully make sure you're using that trigger to switch between those 2 stances each turn, and thereby generating 6 free focus. Or 6 free chi using the conflux.
Yeah, because when you do that, the models that share the same, I guess, river style, they get a free concentrate.
Yeah. So you switch to Wandering style. All Wandering River Monks on the map can take a concentrate action regardless of where they are or who they can see. And so if you run triple Wandering, triple Fermented, by the way, I'm not suggesting you take this to a tournament and list it. But it's a cute list. I've played it, and I've played it and I don't play anything for fun. I was playing it because I was testing out whether it was legitimately competitive. So I thought it might be. Turns out not quite, but not that far off. And if that's the part of the game you enjoy, like trying to eke out that little bit of value and just get those 6 concentrates and trying to really line that up, it's very satisfying when you pull it off.
Yeah, and I think that there are situations for a lot of different lists, but even if you're competitive, right? And that's kind of why I like Shenlong, because there's a very good core, and then there's a lot of flexibility with the models that you can bring, depending on flavor and just what you need for the job. So anything else about the upgrades before we talk about the man, the myth himself?
Just that the High River style is sometimes a little bit underestimated in terms of the amount of work your totems can put in against models which have come into your crew. So people, if anyone comes into a Shen crew, then all of a sudden both totems basically walk up to your face, or even better, charge you with a regular broom, give you 1 damage and a distracted, maybe. If not, who cares? And then concentrate for a focus, and then spend that focus to smack you in the face with a flaming dragon kick. And then all of a sudden that's on stat 7. It should be on stat 6. It goes down by 1 if it's a totem doing it, but then they spend chi and bring it back up to 7. So suddenly this is a stat 7, min 3, burning 2 attack from a guy with a broomstick.
Just scissor kicking the crap out of your models.
Just banging you in the face, and then the other, and then you know when the first one does it. So you get hit by that, and you go, "Oh my god!"
There's another
and then
one.
you get the second. Yeah, you get the secondary. Oh god, it's going to happen again.
I was just
pretty
say,
delicious.
The most ridiculous thing about these little guys is like most of the game they're not even in the game. They're just like in the background doing stuff. And then when that happens, you're like, "Wait, I thought they were just support. What is going on here?"
Yeah.
Not that long ago, my two totems killed Misaki and a Toto because they just blasted onto them and burned them to crisp. So it was the totems and the upgrades are great, and I highly recommend playing around with them. But as I say at the start, might want to stick with Wandering, see what you can get done. The answer is quite a lot.
Yeah, and Shenlong's card, I mean, this guy's got a house of a card because the upgrades sound great. Like when we talk about the upgrades, you're going to be like, man, those are really good. And then you start looking at Shenlong 1 and his card, and you're like, man, there's a ton of great stuff on here because he has the chi stuff. When he activates, he puts an upgrade on. You can choose the same upgrade. So if you pick Wandering, you can stay in Wandering. He's hard to kill. And one of the things I love, you already said that you can concentrate twice in his crew, which is just insane. But also on the front of his card, I love Sacred Ink because if he didn't have that, I think the easiest way to deal with him is just give him stunned. But because he has the Sacred Ink, you can just discard a cheat and not get the effect of the condition.
I honestly think that would be a good nerf. That would be a good nerf for Shen. If you were looking to nerf him, I would drop it. Because he has a way to get around that, which is spiritual alignment. So he can choose to simply give you the stun back. Yeah. He's like, oh, thanks very much. You can have that over here now. And it's unresisted, by the way.
But why nerf him?
Yeah. Why nerf Shen?
Yeah, he's fine.
Okay. He is probably top 5 in the entire game. And I would probably say, personally, I would put him at number 2 underneath Damien only. And so if you want if you want to balance Malifaux, I think at all times you should be looking for ways to chip away at the top stuff without demolishing it into dust.
Yeah.
And you should be looking at ways to bring up the bottom. So I think you should always be chipping away at the top.
Right.
And so to suggest that Shen isn't top would be,
I mean, he is
incorrect in my eyes.
I'm sorry. I sent you guys a statistic. I'm gonna link them again in the chat. He's fine. He is high up there. You are right that he is great. But he's not even top. I mean, just given the numbers, it doesn't look like he's top 10.
Yeah, are we looking at
Longshanks
stuff? And Draysen, I think
Yes.
most of your experience comes from the World Series, correct?
Yeah. I play 90% of my games on Vassal.
Yeah, but the World Series is also in the statistics for Longshanks. So I'm not.
It is.
Yes.
So
first of all, let's just start. Is that ranked? Let's start with that. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's a very good start.
It is ranked by faction, not by master. I don't have an account yet, but if you
I
have an
think
account,
Draysen
you
means
can
those
go.
ranked games and not just random games that people put in.
Those are all tournament games. Yes,
Okay.
they are all tournament games.
Okay.
That for sure.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah, so in tournament games, he's got a 56% win rate.
That is right.
Yeah, and I think
So he's fantastic. He's just not busted.
Yeah, but it's one of those things, Dixon, where because I'll tell you, playing him, he may be the strongest master I think I've ever played. Like as far as
That's a straight lie. You
Well,
know why? Sandeep exists. And guess what? 64% with over 110 games.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, I feel like if I put the same amount of games in with Shenlong that I did with Sandeep, I think I'll play better with Shenlong because there's more direct power, whereas Sandeep a little bit depends on kind of what your opponents decide to cheat and not cheat and how much burning and crap there is. And there's more answers. But
I don't disagree that that's how you feel. I'm just saying that we've talked about this. It's player strength plus the model strength. Like, you are stronger with Shenlong probably now.
Yeah, but I think so. Like,
the people that are putting the numbers.
Yeah, like, I feel like Shenlong killing a model that's important is easier. Like, it's more agency than Sandeep, because Sandeep I have to depend on cards and what my opponents cheat. And then also Sandeep's scared of stuff coming back into him. I'm not really too scared of stuff coming back into Shenlong. As long as I don't miss position. I have played a couple games where I got into too much trouble and that was my fault.
Yes. and so back into the discussion. I didn't, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to like take the wind out of the sail, but I just wanted to clarify.
Free form.
It was incredibly interesting. I shut up because I was like, I'm listening.
Go ahead. I pay attention to at least some of the statistics. I listen to the players, which, by the way, I think I have to apologize to, I think it was Edic, who told me that the average number of lists is 8 instead of 7. It's 5 bot models. I said it's not. He was correct. It is 6 bot models. Apparently, for a little bit now, lists have now gotten 1 model bigger. So that might affect
models tend to be 8 models. That is the standard and has been since I started playing in GG3.
Right. So for a while now, like I started looking deeper into it after he mentioned it, because I was trying to see if I could find some information, and now I can safely say he was right. Whoever told me that, I think it was Edic. I apologize. I had bad information.
Yeah, it happens.
No, it's good.
I just go off of that information all the time. It's okay.
Back to the monk thingy. He is still one of the best masters. I don't know if I would put him top 5, but we've seen the information. He is still a monster.
Yeah, anything above 50% is good.
Holy crap. Anything above 55 is like, we need to look into this.
Yeah, you start to approach 60%, that's when it's kind of like, statistic-wise, that's when you start looking at like 60% win rates in tabletop games. That's when probably needs some kind of nerf. So, I mean, he's approaching that statistic-wise. But I will say, just like, I tell people this all the time. I go by feel, and maybe that's why, I harness the chi and I feel it right. And I'm just like, I feel the raw power. Like, I feel like, I would say Goku, but I feel like Vegeta because, I like the rage monster that he brings. But, this is just good stuff, because then you get to the back of the card, and you already mentioned spiritual alignment. I played a game against a local, and he put slow on me with map. And I was like, cool. Now Lin-Lee's slow. Have fun with that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's so many little things. Just in our games, I think we've only had like 2 or 3 games, you and I.
Yeah.
But like, just the fear of like, I'm gonna hit you for 5 damage irreducible on anything that it's not hard wound or a henchman.
Stone user, yeah.
Yeah, a stone user. Yeah. That's horrifying.
Well, because there's sometimes with the Fury of the Dawn is what you're talking about with the aggressive chi. There's sometimes where you don't even need a focus and you'll still be on a straight because you're stat 8 on this beastly attack.
Yeah, it's like I'm not missing, and you better have a card that's like only 1 below my number.
I mean, you're hitting with like 6s, 8s.
Yep. We recently had a game that I think our latest game. I played Fae, and I saved cards for 3 turns before I unloaded.
You had a stacked hand, I think.
Yeah. I had like 3 13s, a 12, and a 10 saved from one, like the turn 2, because I saved it from turn 1. So it's like turn 1, turn 2, and then on turn 3, I just blasted everything into Shenlong.
How many models did you kill, Dixon?
I killed only 1 and put Shenlong to 4 life.
Did you kill? I don't think you killed 1.
I did. I killed. It was something stupid. I can't remember what it was, but I did kill 1 model. I can't remember.
So
Wandering River style.
if you did, it was a student, but I don't think you did.
No,
But
no.
you did put Shenlong to like 4, so I had to then go,
Yeah.
okay, I'm gonna river style and heal back up and punch.
I killed the Wandering River style monk after I put down Shenlong to 4 health.
Maybe.
That's why. Because, like, you ran out of cards. You couldn't defend yourself anymore. So you were just, like, flipping
I had
cards
one
and putting chi. Yeah, it was, like, horrifying. You're like, oh, God. It was like, yes, now we kill.
But that's the thing. I've had people come into Shenlong's crew with this stacked hand and, like, nothing die. It's just the important stuff misses.
There is that trick that you do need to kind of have when you're playing Wandering River Monks, and it's that people have started to know that a Wandering River Monk, if you try to hit it, it's going to be defense 20 on that one attack that it needs to be, and then it's going to butterfly jump away. So a trick to killing Wandering River Monks is to ask a lot of questions of the Shen crew, make them spend their cards, and the moment that you feel them going, oh, I'm not sure if I can cheat that anymore, you're like, and now we attack the Wandering River Monk. And so good players need to actually be willing to accept things which are more painful than you would like, in order to hold on to that 12 or 13, in order to let them waste that large focused attack on a Wandering River Monk and have it whiff. Which is very, very valuable, especially if they have to cheat first. So they cheat. They've held this 12. They think that's probably good enough. He accepted some horrible shockwave damage and horrible stuns that he wouldn't have otherwise accepted. And you've held your 12 and your chi, and they come in and focus and spend all their AP and then cheat their 12 and spend their focus, and then you say, right, good, no. And also, I'm now going to butterfly over here and score this VP. Thanks.
Yeah.
So holding stuff back is very wise.
And Draysen, I'm kind of curious how you would word this, because I know when people look at the Fury of the Dawn attack, it's 2-3-5. They're like, okay, I mean, you hit that min or moderate, it sucks. So why should people actually be scared of this Fury of the Dawn attack? Like, it doesn't look too impressive unless you spike.
Are you afraid of Hinamatsu?
I don't know, Dixon, are people afraid of Hinamatsu?
It's one of the masters. I'm still working through a puppeteer list that Danger Planet did, and Hinamatsu is like very important for that. So, yes, she's horrifying.
Yeah, she's good. She's good,
right. And a lot of people feel that way. I'm less up on Hinamatsu than other people. That's why I posed it as a question. But I know a lot of people really like her, and they're really afraid of her, and they think of her output as being quite scary.
Afraid of her, but she's really solid when she gets in where she's supposed to be.
Yeah, she tears through models that don't have armor, and even the models that have armor fear her armor piercing.
Excellent. Oh, couldn't have been a better segue. So Shenlong tears through anything that doesn't have armor, because he's going to hit you. He's going to hit you the same number of times. So he can have onslaught 3 times. He can low river style to get it, or he can stone to get it, or he can cheat to get it. So he can get it. And instead of being on 6+, he's on 8. I know which one I think's better. Yep. And he does get that chi back every time he hits you. So it's not like that 8 is really costing him a ton. It's not costing him nothing, but it's not costing him a ton. If he's doing that plus the pebbles on the water to get the onslaught triggers, that's going to start draining chi real quick. But yeah. So he can do the Hinamatsu thing of just going in and blending something. So anything without defensive tech gets blended by onslaught, and there's very little that you can do about that. Even less so than you can do about Hinamatsu. And if you think that Hinamatsu's charge range of 6+2 with a 1-inch reach is scary, try Shenlong's, where he gets pushed 6 inches by his bonus on a totem, then he charges another 5 and hits you another 1. So he's going 11+1. So it's Hinamatsu on steroids. And then you were saying that, okay, that's fine, but what about if they have armor? Well, in the same way that things still have to worry about Hinamatsu and her armor piercing, you have to be quite a bit more worried about Shenlong and his irreducible. And on top of that, he's 2-3-5 and she's 2-3-4. So the upside is even higher. So if you are even vaguely afraid of Hinamatsu, you should be absolutely terrified of Shenlong.
Now, this is what I was going to add to that. Mathematically, and I know it's going to sound a little bit weird, so I'm going to put a little flash in there. Because Shenlong is such a high hit, and he basically recycles his own chi, you can aggressively use his chi, pun intended. So, that +3 that he's usually above other people forces people to cheat higher cards than they normally would. A normal person, this is a tip for all newer players. Sometimes you just have to cheat like an 8. You look at the cards. Okay, if I cheat an 8, he can cheat a 13, and he still won't be at a straight flip. So I'm just going to make sure that he doesn't completely wash out my model, right? Shenlong makes that math harder because having multiple 10s or more in your hand is very taxing, and sometimes he doesn't even have to cheat. So, like, the fact that and people are going to say, oh yeah, but Hinamatsu has a plus flip on her attack, and Shenlong doesn't. I'm like, that +2 might as well be a plus flip on the hit. I'm just saying.
I haven't run the maths, but if I were to do that, I think your average result on a positive flip versus your average result on a single flip +2 would be very similar.
Correct.
Yeah, and not only that, but
I haven't. Yeah.
he also has the ability to put out stunned with a crow, and he has a tome to concentrate just randomly. So if you just kill a model and you don't want to take the onslaught, you can just gain an additional chi or focus. It's a really, really good attack. It's just so flexible. There's times where I'll just kind of I'll be like, okay, I'm activating Shenlong. What can I kill this activation that's worthwhile? And there's been games where I'm like, oh, I can kill Tanguan, or oh, I can kill this henchman. I think there was that game we played, Dixon, where I was like, I can kill Aeonis.
And that happened. I had not thought about it clearly enough, and he jumped into Ionis and just erased them from existence.
Well, I
shocked.
had a short deck, and I didn't flip the red yet, so I knew it was coming. So I was like, cool, I'm going to load him up with focus, get into you. And you're like, cool, I'm going to stone yet a neg. I was like, perfect. More cards. Red jokered, 6 damage, irreducible, money, chef's kiss, dead.
yeah. And actually, I think that brings a little bit of a flashback. It probably was Draysen. Somebody a little while ago, or I want to say like within the last year, they played me Monk, and they were just doing min damage, irreducible, but I was playing freaking Thierry, and it just tore through whatever armor or shield that I had, so it didn't matter. It was like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna hit you for min or moderate damage, irreducible, and there's nothing I can do about it other than try to heal later on. It was so frustrating.
Yeah. So that's why you should be afraid. And then on top of that, there are things like there's the utility there, which is, okay, so I've come into you, I've done my irreducible 5, and I've forgotten that you have butterfly jump. God damn it. And that is generally, game over. It's like, well, that's the end of that chat. Oh, wait, hang on a second. I've got a 2-3-4 blast gun, which ignores hard to kill and demise. Thanks very much.
Yeah. Good tech on his guard.
Yeah, and that just happens to be there. By the way, if you're a new player, feel free to take a big red marker. Just cross that out. Just pretend it's not there. If you wanna just simplify things down, just forget he has the gun. It's fine. You'll do just fine. But if and when you decide to remember it's there, that can be pretty spicy. I know I've killed Wukong with it recently, and if I was that player, I would have been very sad.
Yeah, I did play against a newer player this last week at my local game store, and I was playing against him with story, like he was playing story, and I had a chance to kill Sun Wukong, and I could have Dragon's Lighted him and just taken him off the board, but I was like, he's a new player, I'm just going to kill him, he can pop him up wherever, and, just try not to give him the full bad touch Shenlong experience yet.
Well, you're a better man than I am.
Listen.
I had a Dragon's Lighted him before he'd even taken a breath.
After he gets out of 10 games, then he'll start to get it. But
right.
Actually, this brings me to a very good important point. 2-inch reach is very bad for monks, because I think there's only like one model that is 2-inch reach for you guys outside of like the fermented river monks making you drunk and stuff like that.
I mean, the fermented river style.
Fermenteds have it in the Four Winds Golem.
Yeah.
And the correct. Yeah.
And you give the fermented
river style on Shenlong.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Pete, what was that?
I was going to say the fermented river style gives you 2-inch reach.
Yeah, but I think it's a bonus action for that attack, right?
No, you can just discard a chi and take it.
Oh, snap.
And then, a matter of fact, the cost of it, I think, places you, or is it the cost? There's something where it places you into base.
Cost
It
places.
is. That was the one that I was looking at. I was like, oh yeah, if you really need to be at a certain place,
So you could
just
place, hit for 3 damage with that, and then switch to, whatever you want it to be, and then just punch with your normal attack.
Yeah, and
because it's a cost, you can even do it on a Black Joker.
Yeah.
Correct. What I also wanted to point out, we kind of blitzed through this, but Sensei usability to get a chi whenever you get hurt is dumb, and I just wanted to
it's once per activation.
emphasize. Oh, shut the hell up! Because
We'll
sometimes
we'll get to you and some of the other stuff here in a minute, okay?
Yeah, but I didn't want to just scream past it. So yes, screw Sensei U.
Bringing it back.
That model needs to be nerfed somehow because I hate seeing him and Bang Ying in every crew.
I did want to, and I'm going to speak on this real quick because I think Draysen kind of feels the same way, and Dixon, if you feel differently, you can pipe up. But Shenlong the Teacher seems interesting as a title. He kind of has this weird thing where he seems to be supporting his crew as opposed to, punching and killing stuff, and also supporting the crew. A little more with scheming. You can scheme while you're engaged, if you discard chi and stuff. I don't see myself playing this a lot. Just because I think an important part of Monk, we were talking about this before, where Shenlong 1, he garners so much attention and respect that he's almost holding the table hostage until he does something. So because he's good at denying schemes, he's good at, just killing models, repositioning his crew, healing stuff, whatever. So until he goes, the table and your opponent are really held hostage by that. So when you bring Shenlong 1, it's almost when you bring Shenlong 2, it's almost like that threat is now gone. So where is that new threat coming from? So you have to, what model is going to replace Shenlong 1 to garner that much respect is kind of where I am with the teacher title. So I'll bring it for fun to try it out probably in the next few games, but I don't see myself at a tournament dropping this much because Shenlong 1's just so freaking good.
I mean, I want to take a guess just from games that I played in Draysen. Please clarify after that. I saw the Great Teacher being good in any game where the upgrades are gonna make more of a difference, and then he was relying mostly on Charm Warders and Thunder Archers. And he was really good at that, a support role. But yeah, I think you are correct that the first one is scary until he activates, whereas the second one, it's more all right, I exist, and I make your life a living hell.
So, my answer can be nice and quick because I just agree with everything Pete said.
Okay.
It was spot on. I couldn't say it better myself. The only thing I would say in favor of Shen 2 is that he can hold you hostage in a very different way, which is that he can't hold you hostage in terms of the killing, but he can in terms of the scheming and the denying, which is that he can say, look, until I go, you will not know where all my scheme markers are, where all my ballots are, where all my cloak and daggers are, and they will be aplenty, and they will be everywhere, and you will not
necessarily safe either.
You are not going to get to score damn all until I say so. However, you are completely safe to fight me and win.
Yeah.
And I will not kill you back, which Shen does not give that mercy.
Yeah, because,
I think, yeah.
And not only that, you don't get to concentrate twice with your models. You don't get to move all this, chi or conditions around with that ability the first one has. And I just remember I played Dashel 1 in a tournament against it. And I just remember not being scared at all. I was just going into the crew and just doing, it's like I had a Ron Swanson pass. I was just doing what I want,
That sounds about right to me.
You can't scheme if you're dead.
But yeah. And I think that you can attempt to do a whole chi plus styles plus cards equals alive, and then teacher says, now I score.
Well, I think the teacher also depends
if someone really commits to killing you, then...
Yeah, and I think the teacher also depends on being more mobile than you. And since I was playing Dashel 1 in that matchup, Dashel's very mobile, especially with Mounted Guard and the Dispatcher and all this other nonsense, that I was able to keep up and just hey, you have a fully loaded executioner ready to kill all your monks. I'm stat 7 too, haha.
Yeah. I mean, all of what I said was just to try to give a tiny bit on the teacher. I would not take the teacher ever. Yeah. I wouldn't. You could allow me to build the table and the pool and the strategy completely while knowing my opponent's master in advance, and I would still never take teacher.
That's fair.
Wow. Okay. So it definitely wasn't you that kicked my butt with it.
No, I've never played teacher in a competitive game.
Well, and I think it's not an unplayable title. I just think that the first version is so good. I don't see, and I'm talking competitively. Like I can see like random games on a Tuesday I play with friends. I can play this and I'd probably have a fun time with it, especially like plant explosives. That'd be fun. But it's kind of like Molly 1 and Molly 2. Like some people like Molly 2. I'm just like, Molly 1 is so good. I wouldn't bring Molly 2. And I know, and I know Cackle does sometimes, but Cackle's a better player than me. I'm sorry. Okay.
I think Cackle does it is not an argument.
So we don't need to get into that. Just because we already talked about pretty much everything they do. They're just fantastic. I will say, Draysen and Dixon, you'll probably agree with me that these totems, they don't seem like much, but they absolutely are worth killing. Like if
They're
you can
frustrating enough.
If you can kill the totems, take them out.
Yeah, it's like I try to do shockwaves and AoEs as much as I can nearby them, just so like I can bypass having to cheat a card because they need to die eventually.
I think blasts are probably the best thing that you can do against totems because they tend to stay near each other or near a terracotta warrior to try and keep them alive, or if Than's there to save them, then that doesn't save them from the blast that comes after.
Yes.
And you never really want to waste a heal on a totem, but I would because they are that good. And so yeah, absolutely. You can't like spend 6 master AP getting to kill 1 totem. That's not going to win you a game.
God.
So we can't just say kill the totems at all costs because that's not quite true. But if you ever have an even vaguely efficient way of killing them, then do so.
Yeah, as Neverborn, because I went back to Neverborn for the Houston GT, which again plug for everybody. Houston GT, October, great fun. I highly recommend it to everybody.
Dixon's going.
Hope to meet you guys there. And again, thank you so much for helping us through that.
We'll have stickers again. So yeah.
So back to the thing at hand. The totems only have 3 health, and at least in Neverborn, there's multiple ways. Like, for example, the Emissary puts you at a negative flip if you're in severe terrain, and you can force people into severe terrain. So that's a way to kill them. You can blast onto them. You can Blade Rush people with the upgrade if necessary. Black Blood if you're playing any of the Nephilim. There are multiple ways. That being said, I would say look into your own factions for things like that. I know that in Outcast you can do it just by blasting people or dropping scheme markers or any of that stuff.
Yeah, I was telling Trevor the other day because he was kind of like, whenever somebody is like, oh man, this keyword seems unbeatable, I try to help them figure out ways to attack it. Because one, that helps me out because I'd rather play against somebody who's, ready to fight against it in a strong game so I can sharpen myself a little bit too. But I was like, dude, you're playing Cooper too. If you see Shenlong, it's probably not a bad thing if the table's good for it to bring the sandworm. Because if I leave the students back too far, you can just pop up the sandworm and like eat them. So just trying to give people ideas like that on how they can attack the list, just to give them
min 3 leapers.
I love that.
Ouchie.
Yeah. I was gonna say I love that the sandworm is min 3. And stat 6, so it just hurts the aspiring students exactly on the money.
Yeah, it's just like one shot.
Manos.
Yeah,
Manos is another tasty one. Bet Noir can do it reasonably well. There are plenty of hunty leapy killers about, and you want to have some of them on your side. Pouncing Strike is a beauty. So if you want to get in the back there, like Zheng. He can make a mess.
Oh, now that you said Bouncing Strike, I would like to point out we were talking about targeting beacons. The freaking Golem. The Golem is stat 5.
Yeah, you can't increase his stat either.
Exactly. So if you're going to be using a targeting beacon, usually the Wind Golem is the perfect target for that one hit, because he himself is not gonna die easy. But my God, is it good to splash off of him?
Oh yeah, I could even see like pouncing strike. Like I'm gonna charge the wind golem, pouncing strike. Now I'm back on your totems because they're usually behind stuff, right? So.
Well, and then if you happen to have the AP, you could in fact pouncing strike to whatever he happened to butterfly near to.
Yep.
If he made an error, like there are ways that you can. There are a lot of lines where that can be very handy. The wind golem, it's weird because he's a 10 stone model, and so you'd think he's one of the like the linchpins of the list, and in fact he's one of the most killable models in the entire keyword. He's sometimes just a big 10 stone sink, but his offensive output is so incredible, and the fact that he's basically a chi battery in turn one makes him very, very, very often worthwhile in my eyes. But
yeah, and I think
the fact that he.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was agreeing with him that like the fact that he just makes chi basically by existing is dumb. Like he just makes chi randomly.
Yeah, I think
just be aware, Harlequin, that Angel Eyes is still a pistol action, and that does she ignore cover? I think she ignores everything, doesn't she?
Correct, except line of sight.
So Angel Eyes is good, but just be aware that generally if you're shooting totems with pistols, they have cover, usually, because they have face in the crowd.
Yeah.
So just don't get caught out by that one.
And one more thing about that is they're stat 6 against her, so you have to beat them. You can't just, like, match them.
And if they're near the Four Winds Golem, it's -2, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of little, we're saying just kill the totems, but there is no just here. It is a concerted effort.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, that kind of models when you're like, and the Wind Golem is going to stay a little bit near my crowd. But I think the one model I have brought in every game with Shenlong getting into the crew now is Sensei Yu's the one model that I always bring. The other model, there's some models where I mostly bring in a lot of games, but I don't see any reason to leave out Sensei Yu. He's just good. He's just a solid henchman.
I can't remember a game where I haven't brought both Sensei Yu and a Wandering River Monk.
That is true. I have always brought one Wandering River Monk as well.
One Wandering. Yes, you might bring more, but I mean, one is coming to town.
That is frustrating that is a true statement, and I hate it. You guys suck.
Yeah, we'll get to the Wandering here in a minute, but...
Sure.
Photon said the number one model that I really want, to smash in the face, Ban Ying.
We're going to get to that after these two models, Dixon. You can talk and we'll figure it out. But, yeah, he has shouting orders, which is fine. It lets you concentrate one more time if you really want to. But I think the big things that I notice with you is, one, when your stuff gets damaged within 6 of him, including himself, you just get a chi each activation when that happens. And then the other thing that I think you're really there's 2 things. Jesus, praise Jesus. His Hurricane Punch, you got a built-in tome for just good for a laugh, because why not? Drawing cards is good. And then what made me react that way is a simple lesson is just so dang good. Draysen, preach the simple lesson here. Why is that a great action? Because I feel like that's fantastic.
Well, there's a few. You were saying, there's one thing, there's 2 things, there's 3 things, and I'm thinking there's at least 4.
Or the stat 9.
There's at least 4. Yeah. So Sensei Yu, well, Laugh Off is just incredibly good. It just really is. And then he's hard to kill as well, just because, I often forget that because no one ever tries to kill him because it doesn't work. So yeah, there's that. The shouting orders monk thing is an interesting one. You don't use that very often because your bonus actions are good enough, but it's worth noting the low river monk doesn't have a bonus action, so it actually having Sensei Yu anywhere near him basically gives him one. And since he can use his chi very effectively for additional heals and or keeping his ass alive, then and or turning 4 and 5 of tomes into an effective 6 of tomes, thereby granting focus, which, in other keywords you might pay 7 stones out of keyword to take a Kunoichi just to do that. Well, now you've got a low river monk doing it for you for 4 stones, so kind of nice. But to go back to why is Simple Lesson so good, well, there are 2 reasons. One is you're simply reducing the chi on another friendly monk with a lower cost, which is basically all of them except for the Four Winds Golem. and you're reducing that in order to give them fast. Now that's good already, but it is limited to keyword. And it is limited to not the Four Winds Golem, and obviously it's protecting itself against future design space for any other 9-cost monk that might come in. But Shenlong can then transfer that fast using the spiritual alignment we spoke about earlier to any model, which does not have to be a monk. And can be the Four Winds Golem, it can be Fuhatsu, it can be Desper. If you'd like to steal 3 stones, that's absolutely fine. You go ahead and do that. So the reason that it's nuts is that you can do it on a totem, a good old friendly totem that are just sitting there generating chi for fun, and then pop fast on them immediately while drawing some cards, and then Shenlong can choose during the turn, where do I want that fast to be? Or save the AP for himself, and then, he doesn't have to spend it, and it didn't really cost you anything to do. It cost you a chi on a model. But a nice little trick that you can do in the turn 1 unpack is you can, using that Four Winds Golem battery of concentrating with a totem near the Four Winds Golem, which generates some chi sort of for free, and then you can use their bonus to transfer that chi from one monk to another. So you can transfer it to a monk that hasn't yet activated, and that could be, for example, Ban Ying. And then he's sitting there with a chi, and so even before he's activated on turn 1, you can already give him fast. Which you can sort of see from the design intent wasn't really designed to be possible, because it was sort of like you have to discard a chi, therefore you have to have activated at least once. Well, no, because the totems can fix that for you. So it's a very, very strong and very, very versatile ability, and those 2 words, strong and versatile, really describe the whole Shen keyword, really.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, the biggest issue that you just mentioned is Ben Ying has I know that it requires setup, but I like the side grade of Ninja Vanish. Just because it's like, it gets to remove something that could be your enemies, or it could just, somebody else in your crew left it for you.
Well, I think Ninja Vanish specifically says friendly scheme or friendly shadow.
Really?
It says friendly scheme or shadow.
It would be amazing if it was enemy.
No, my apologies. I always assumed that it was any, so now I'm going to have to adjust my game.
No.
So I was like, I didn't want to leave. That was actually one of the things my brain apparently missed that.
To teleport to.
It's exactly right. I didn't want to leave resources for him to abuse. Well, now I don't.
If he had that, he would be an absolute nightmare.
I was like terrified of it, because the thing is, the reason why I thought he could do that is because I made the assumption from the the anglers, the little turd burglars that have that ability too.
Yeah,
sure.
Sensei Yu is a good model. Like, it's just I don't see any reason not to bring him. He's good in a lot of the pools and strats, but I think the reason why people are a little frustrated, and I like your kind of thoughts on this, Draysen, because you have different thoughts than a lot of the people in the old Malifaux community. Some people think this is ridiculous, so much so that they're bringing Sensei Yu and Ban Ying out of keyword.
And by some people, you mean everybody, right?
Yeah, to draw cards. Basically, they're just punching Sunless Selves instead of punching, their own models. So I don't know if you want to speak real quick on what you think about that combo and kind of how good or not good you think that is.
I am either late or not yet aboard the Ban Ying hype train. I do not hire him most of the time. And I prefer to pay 1 more and take Desper. I am very high on Desper Leroux. However, recently I have begrudgingly seen people do quite effective things with Ban Ying. And so I have considered lists which include Desper and Ban Ying. Because it's like, why not both? I always have Sensei Yu in Shenlong lists pretty much, so I can't. So it would be, if I'm taking Ban Ying, I do have Sensei Yu to give him fast, which is obviously the target that you pretty much want it on if you're not transferring it with the Shen AP. and you shouldn't always be doing that, by the way, because Shen AP are incredibly valuable, as we discussed earlier. So you need to have a really good reason to use one to transfer fast from your model to your model. From an enemy model to your model, absolutely, because that's -1 AP, +1 AP. And as long as you put it on a decent model, that's an obvious net benefit. But if you're doing it from your model to your model, you're not really benefiting. You're just moving it from one to the other, and it's costing you a Shen AP to do it. So it should be something done for a reason, to get further than they expect you to get, or to get one more attack than they expect you to mathematically get. To come back to Banying and Sensei Yu out of keyword, I think that in situations where you wish to punch things with Sensei Yu in order to draw cards, you should probably have a model in mind or a crew in mind that allows you to do that. So for example, Fuhatsu, who reduces that from 2 to 1 and then has self-healing and doesn't really care about using his bonus for anything else. I think that's a place where you can take Sensei Yu out of keyword. Or I don't know, you could even do it on Raijin if you were feeling spicy, or on Thangyong, because you can punch him, he reduces it to 1, and then his bonus will heal it up anyway. So there are models that you can do that with. I think that paying 10 for Sensei Yu and then 9 for Banying on top,
a lot.
In a game where you wouldn't be able to concentrate more than once with Banying, so you couldn't stack Focus or Chi on turn 1. I don't love it, but I understand why you might want those Sunless Selves to be able to do it, and I could understand it more if it were in a Last Blossom crew. I don't like Last Blossom very much, but if you were doing that, then you've got more Shadow Synergy, so you're bringing a Shadow combo into a Shadow Synergy keyword. I can see that.
Right.
And I think taking Sensei Yu is a reasonable thing to do, but if you're taking him just for cards, take Maddox. She is better. She brings more cards.
No. I agree with you.
I was pretty much done, so I was.
Okay. I agree
go
with
while
you.
You're fresh.
I just wanted to put an addendum to it. We've had on the podcast before Landon Sheehan. I don't know if you know.
I know him, yeah.
Yeah, and he is in the mindset that she is basically just drawing you cards and that's it. That Sensei Yu is much better. So apparently there is a subset of players that they just like the aggressiveness of Sensei Yu, and the fact that Sensei Yu has a laugh off. That's huge. So that being said, I just wanted to add one more thing, Pete. I'm sorry. Apparently, and I saw this only once, so please verify if either I just misread it or he was doing it wrong. In story, I saw Tom Guan use the ability to do like 1 damage or something to
his bonus.
Yeah. Something about like feeding basically Banying, so Banying would have like 4 Chi by the time he activated again. Is that even possible?
Well, no, because when you take damage, it's from enemy effects.
Has to be from
enemy effects.
Okay, so that was a misplay. But yeah, it was like, I know that I saw it once before, so it could have just been a mistake on our part.
Unless it was an enemy Thangyong.
Yeah.
No. I was the one playing against them.
Right, okay.
I played against...
Because if an enemy Thangyong pings you, taking 1 damage when you've got Sensei Yu nearby is often great. Gotcha. You'd be like, yeah, please hit me for 1. I'll take the Chi.
Yeah, so that was most definitely a misplay.
I think I might be playing Banying differently than other people. I don't bring him all the time, so I don't think he's an auto-include. There's some keywords where it's just like, okay, I don't know why you're bringing this, but it's fine. Like, I think you could find stuff in keyword or out of keyword a little more useful. But here's where I like Banying. So, one, I tend to use him, and kind of like you said, why not both? I use him with my other scheme runners to just get me points. Because if he's fast, he's hopping to shadow markers or schemes. And he has 3 AP to go do stuff, right? To go drop schemes, to vote, to do whatever. I think a lot of people are focusing on the actions, which are good, right? Like Dark and Chi's good, Illusionary Strike's fine, especially if you can punch through the Sunless Selves. But I really like him when I need to leverage, get into spots and doing something specific. I will say, though, games where I do like him is in Cloak and Dagger. I do bring the Minako Ray engine just because Katashiro are just really good into Cloak and Dagger. It's probably it probably needs to be looked at because it's so good. But
and
minions taking
to the listener, real
tell
quick.
tokens is good.
Yeah, that, to the listeners, so that they can simplify this in part of their games. Pete has this very straightforward thing that once the cashiers are in play and they have the opportunity to steal, like he's talking about, he will kill a model that hasn't activated on purpose to then have basically that leverage on top of you to then, if you get the last activation, at any point in time you have to do something for the strategy, he will steal it from you.
Yeah.
That is a very strong ability, and it's very easy to do.
Yeah, a lot of summoners
swing
are
of
doing
things.
that right now too. And then the other thing is like the game we played, Dixon, with when you were playing Titania with underbrush markers, I brought Raijin out of keyword, and Raijin was pushing Sunless Selves into your underbrush, and they don't take any damage, but I remove all your underbrush crap because it's just too easy. So I think that
basic
I like Ban Ying.
things that win games.
Yeah, I like Ban Ying when he's doing specific things. I don't like bringing him just because,
I was very recently very sad because I brought him into Tara.
Yeah.
Thinking, you know what, having some shadow markers around, like they don't like concealment. They don't like it when they're trying to, stutter time me or stutter time each other. If I've got shadow markers all over the place, that's going to be a nightmare for him. And then in the meantime, I can hand out a little bit of staggered here and there. Maybe I can do this, do that, and maybe I can use Unworthy of Her Attention, which is an unbelievably stellar tome trigger, to try to get some pass tokens to balance out the Ionis, thing. And then occasionally on those turns where I pull that off, I'm going to be able to maybe score some strategy for once against Tara. Woo! And instead what I did was I summoned a Willpower 3 model in the middle of my crew that had already activated. And it's like,
now it gets fast and stuff unburied.
It's like, oh no, things have gone horribly wrong.
This is a question also. Does the Sunless Self have conceal into himself?
So we were discussing that, and we had 5 pretty decent players in the room, and we ended up saying that we think, yes, they do.
Okay.
We are not the MWS, and do not take that as a rule, but 5 good players in a room pretty much all agreed, yes, they would be concealed. Here's the second thing, that if you find yourself in the situation where you have A, taken Ban Ying into Tara, B, summoned a Sunless Self, and then C, crapped yourself because you've realised it's Willpower 3 and mindless, you can treat it as a shadow marker and thus slam it and thus kill it, which is what I did.
So they put fast and you're like,
hilarious.
oh no, look what I've done. I'm going to slam my own Sunless Self.
Then you slam your Sunless Self. So just be aware that in that situation, there is a way out.
No, I mean, Pete and I have been playing it as if they have concealment, but it's always good to see if more people are agreeing with it. It's not absolutely clear on the card.
Yeah. It is not. I would recommend popping it into the I play in metas where the MWS rulings are sacred and where they are played in all tournaments, so I simply, if I'm not sure, put it there. But if you're not in one of those metas, have a chat with your TO, be friendly about it, respect their decision, go from there.
Yeah, and I think the big thing about Ban Ying is I think it's really easy to play him bad, because I think some people might have the tendency to put out as many Sunless Selves as they can, and you're not really doing much with them. You're trying to, you're finding stuff that you're trying to kill, and you're not just taking the points as they come. Maybe you're keeping Ban Ying too close back to your crew because you want to keep this card draw engine going. And I really think turn 2 and 3, there's this flex point where I think Ban Ying wants to go score schemes and strats. And some people will handicap themselves by keeping him too close to Sensei Yu. So I think he's...
And in doing so, they will also gimp their own Sensei Yu by forcing him to not go and take some speculative attacks against opponents,
plus,
which on stat A can still draw cards.
Yeah, I was going to say, plus, Ban Ying is so easy to telegraph where you're going and where you want to be, because it's like, oh, you set up a Sunless Self there. Well, I guess I know where Sensei Yu's going to go because you want to draw cards.
Yep. I highly recommend. I do think if you're taking Ban Ying, my experience thus far has been a Terracotta works very, very nicely with him because you can interact, discard a card to summon the Sunless Self, then the scheme marker is gone, So then you are able to interact again because there's no scheme marker within 4. Then you can discard another card, and then you will immediately draw one of those cards back. So you're essentially sort of getting 2 Sunless Selves, which can then go into different directions when they activate the next turn, giving you 2 ways to go with Ban Ying, and that reduces how telegraphed you are with what Ban Ying's doing that turn. It gives you more options, and I think I agree with you that your Ban Ying thought process should be, how is he scoring me points this turn? Not what is he attacking or where is he summoning Sunless Selves. It's how is he scoring me points. If he happens to summon some Sunless Selves while he's on the way, great. But I think what he's good at is scoring and being difficult to remove by virtue of a chi using henchman. Just look at Sensei Yu for how difficult that guy is to put down. Well, Ban Ying's not that far off, and he's got a defensive trigger, which, by the way, is pretty spicy. A 6-inch place and a shadow marker. Thanks very much.
Pretty good. So let's go ahead and Dixon, you have any last thoughts on Ban Ying before, I guess since you're seeing him everywhere, what do you think needs to change on him, Dixon, to make it so he's not brought in every keyword in 10 Thunders?
I think at this point they should just increase his cost by 1, and that's it.
I actually liked what Lance came up with. I don't know if Lance told you, Dixon. He was like, if a friendly model targets a sunless self with anything, it should be removed. So it's like a cost to remove it. So if you punch it with Sensei Yu, fine, but then it dies. Make it a little less efficient.
I had to think about it, but if you both like it and you both play the keyword, then...
I think it's a step. I don't know. I thought it was an interesting thought where it makes it a little less...
The main reason for my take is because I think that even if he was 9 points and 8 health, it's, still be the thing that he is right now, it will just stop him from being outside of keyword as much. Because right now, the thing that is heinous about him is that at 19 points, because of Sensei Yu, they're just drawing cards, and it just feels, I don't know, it doesn't feel as bad.
See,
at 20 points,
if
maybe
they're
that's the
just drawing
point.
cards with that 19 stone combo, I don't think you're winning the game.
Oh, no, it's, okay, so you're right. If they're just doing that for 4 turns, they're losing the game. But that's not what's happening. They're setting up on turn 1, maybe turn 2, and then they're killing you.
Yeah, I agree with that. Let's get on to, I think... a model it's just Wandering River Monk, and then we got a couple more before we get into tech stuff, and then finish this up. But Wandering River Monks are just good. They have a leap, they're move 6, they have Deadly Pursuit. If you don't use anything else on their card, that's great. And they're 5 stones.
And then move 6. You said move 6. Sorry, yeah. So the only problem with Wandering River Monks is that they get less and less good the more of them you hire. So the first one is solid gold, because you can fish for and hold the 1 leap card that you need. As long as a Wandering River Monk is leaping each turn, then it's putting out absolute gold levels of value. Yep. But once it isn't leaping, it is really not great. And as a result, the more of them that you have, the less likely that each one is leaping, and you need to hold back a high card plus chi to keep them alive, and then if you've got more of them, that's more problems that you have to defend. So I think that Wandering River Monk, unbelievably good. More than Wandering River Monk, you need to have quite a specific game plan in mind.
I do have one question. Is it worth to put the ninja upgrade on him?
Quick answer, no. Okay. It's never worth putting any 10 Thunders upgrade on any model, with the exception of Silent Protector on a rabbit, which shouldn't be in the game. It shouldn't. You need to put some text on the front of the Jade Rabbit's card that says this model cannot hold upgrades. That's what he needs. And then the long answer is there is a situation in which, because a Wandering River Monk can use Chi, or any monk, the Chi can also be used on the abilities of the upgrade cards bonus actions. So in other words, you can challenge on stat 8. You can also do the Shuriken Flick on stat 7, which means you have access to a stat 7 stun or stagger. and I have taken the trained ninja upgrade on a Wandering River Monk against Damien 1 specifically, because stunning Damien 1 is effectively saving you a model every turn.
Yeah.
And I can recommend that, but it's very, as with all of the 10 Thunders upgrades, it's so niche that it's often just better to forget that they exist.
Incidentally, this is like second or third time you mentioned Damien 1, and I would like to point out, he is a top 5 master in the game. You were right. I looked into it. That man is disgusting.
He's pretty
I
gross.
was like, holy crap. Why is he has like an obscene amount of games. He's like over 150 tournament games, and he's 64% win rate. It's like, jeez.
and by the way, that's including the fact that actually he is relatively difficult to play. It's just that when you play him well, he's so disgustingly broken that he can still maintain a 64% win rate. So yeah, anyway, back to the Wandering River Monk. Butterfly Jump and Deadly Pursuit on the front of card of a 5-point minion. That's insanity. Stat 7 attacks when you want them. Amazing. 3 mask leap when you want it, because you can spend chi to get it, so it's like any mask basically gets you there.
Yes.
Leap and movement 6. Oh baby, I mean, just give them unimpeded and I'll have their first child.
Yeah, that's the reason why I mentioned the ninja training, because I haven't seen it, and Pete doesn't pick it, but it's like, if this thing had unimpeded,
he's doing the right thing.
Listen, I'm a new 10 Thunders baby. Listen, I don't play a lot of 10 Thunders, so the upgrades I'm not even thinking about those right now.
No, we have some of the worst upgrades in the whole game, and I know a lot of factions like to claim that, but I'm willing to fight on that hill.
Yeah, no, Outcast has you beat, and Explorers has you beat. Aside of that, I think you're correct. I think you could safely say you're the third worst upgrades in the game.
I did want to ask one thing about not just on Wandering River Monks, but also on like Sensei U. As a game goes on, what are you using Wind Blast for? Because I don't find myself using that action a lot yet, so I'm kind of curious when you find that action useful.
Hazardous. So when they're stood next to some
Cactus,
lava,
boom.
yeah, it's like take one. So you got an arm, or like their cheeky little anti-armor. I just played against Hoff 2 this morning. And my Wandering River Monk walked up and said, "Hi, I might get the No Witnesses trigger. If I do, I can deal 5 ignoring armor. If I don't, I'm going to deal 1. Then you're going to go into that lava and take 1. And then you're going to gain burning. And at the end of the turn, you're going to take 1.
Yeah.
I'm going to do that from 8 inches away. And now you're going to be 11 inches away. And then I'm going to Deadly Pursuit, and you're going to be 15 inches away. Yep. And then you know that the following turn, if you don't move, I'm going to come and do it again."
This is the good old Kunoichi. Why is Kunoichi hated? Because like every now and then that will randomly happen, and then the Wandering River Monks are like, "Hold my beer, I'll do it better."
And then in the same game, I very conspicuously saw, oh no, my Shen it can either kill this metallurgist or reach the back, raid the vaults marker. I'm going to kill the metallurgist. I think it's more important, blah, blah, blah. So in other words, my opponent is now basically forgotten about strategy. And then in the late game, my Wandering River Monk leaps over, Wind blasts Shen back into range of the strat for me, and then walks back to the other one that he was already sat on. I've scored 4 strat and won the game. Thanks.
But Draysen, you have to do damage to your master. Herpadur.
I could not give a yeah.
Okay.
Please hit Shenlong, please. I mean, unless you're going to hit him with everything, then please just tap him a bit. That's fine. Give him some chi. So yeah,
to do
Wandering, amazing. Take 1. If you're going to take more, have a plan.
Oh man, okay, I can get on board with that. And also, Sensei uses stat 7, so that's a thing. He doesn't have no witness.
Yeah,
though.
well, and also he has. Well, no, but he has Drain Magic, or whatever it's called. You can absolutely discard their last card.
Good? Is that a good trigger? I think
it's been known. It's been known.
All right. Well, I know that Draysen's going to have a little bit to say about this, and I do want to share a story about this model, just because I think it's a pretty funny story, and it's going to lead into what I think Draysen loves about the Charm Warders. I think most people know the Charm Warders because they ignore Demise, so people are like, oh yeah, that's the anti-Demise thing. But man, Jinx is good. If you haven't played against like Sammy Lacroix or another model that has Jinx Jinx is just solid. It's only like 1, 2, 3 damage, but you put out injured, which if Shenlong's coming in to wreck you, that's not, you don't want to deal with that. That's a good setup for Shenlong. But the Shady Dealings trigger, I had 2 High Crows in hand playing against Lance, right? And this was turn 2. Like, we're getting right there. Like, things are about to happen. And Lance had 2 cards left in hand. And I was like, oh, no, actually, I think he had 4. I think it was even worse. And I hit this trigger twice and just ripped everything out of his hand. And there was like 2 or 3 severes in there. And Lance is like, you've just ruined me, mate. Like, this is going horrible. That Shady Dealings is so good. So good. And it's random cards, so you don't know. You might get a red Joker out of there. Who knows?
Okay, I just want to point out, why is it stat 8? I just want to say that. Why is it... It could have been stat 5 going up to 7, and it would have been still really freaking strong.
Agreed. For those who aren't aware, Shady Dealings says, for each of the opposing player's unrevealed schemes, the target must discard a random card. So sometimes, even when they've got 6 cards in hand, you can just catch that 13 that they were holding, or, whatever it is. But also... your opponent, if they've ever seen a Charm Order before, they will know that if you're coming in to jinx them, there is a real chance that you're going for that trigger. And so they really cannot afford to let that attack hit, yet it can be on stat 8. So the chances that you need to cheat first are very high. And then you're going to have to cheat very high to avoid that High Crow draining your hand, which means it doesn't actually drain 2 cards. It drains 3.
Yeah. Also, one more thing, because... Well, actually, two things. We talked about like targeting beacons once again, and you mentioned an upgrade, and I just did the connection real quick because you mentioned this exact combo at the beginning of the podcast, so it bears repeating. Can you put a little bit more emphasis on that Low River Monk combo with this? Because it's like you use the chi to get the trigger to then screw your opponent. Yeah, and you can target.
Oh, you mean the Low River style, not the Low River Monk?
I apologize. Yes, the Low River style specifically, because you were talking about the Pebble thing. That being said, you target. Say your opponent has like a Willpower 4 opponent. They are royally screwed, because then you can do what you're about to explain now. Yeah. So explain again.
You're bringing the Bam Yang out of keyword, and you just punish the Sunless Elves.
Yeah. So essentially, it's the fact that it's when you are in Low River style, and so it does require some setup because generally you'll be in Wandering, so you have to sort of make a conscious choice to do this. But if you make the conscious choice to be in Low River style, either for the healing or to set this up, and then you suddenly realize, I'm in that style, I can do this, then you essentially create 3 3-inch auras around Shen and around your 2 totems. And while you're standing within it, any monk can spend chi to gain the suit that they need after the flip. And so a Charm Warder can simply flip a card and then spend a chi to have whatever card that is be a crow. And you are not limited to the amount of chi that you can spend on a single duel. So you're allowed. That didn't come out well. You are allowed to spend both a chi for the suit and another chi for the +2. That is a legal thing to do. So if you have enough chi, you simply can make this go off. And on turn 2, where it's impossible for them to have revealed their schemes most of the time, unless it's in your face or something and they've murdered something flat out the gate, then generally speaking, you're going to be discarding 2 cards. And as I say, honestly, because your opponent knows it's coming, they are very likely to try hard to stop you. And so it is actually more like 3 cards. And as Pete said, the sheer just take a damage, take an injured, take a damage, take an injured. That's enough. That's often enough to end someone before the Shady Dealings even gets involved, and that's nuts. And by the way, this is before we even get onto Chaos Theory.
We haven't even touched Chaos Theory, but this one trigger on this stupid model, and it's not even like stars align. The reason why I wanted you to talk about the Pebble is because you don't really have to do stars align. You just have to do 1 or 2 activations of planning, and that's it. You do 1 or 2 activations of planning on turn 2, and then your opponent is now basically struggling. Like, he's just running away from you, because 1 action can technically be half his entire hand. That is insane.
I will say that.
And also, by the way, Sensei, you can give them fast, so you can do it 3 times.
Nice. I will say that with
It's so
Chaos
gross.
Theory, sometimes you just randomly kill models.
Oh, that too.
Totems. Like, if you're against McCabe 2, just have a crack at the dog. It's worth a go. Like, because you get it, you just end their career. Like, it's just, that's the end of that chat, isn't it? And then like, or against stuff like the zombie Chihuahua, or by the way, in court models, it's a tactical action, so they can sod off with their -1. Just take the full lot.
Yep.
Enslaved spirits, have some of that.
It gets around also. It gets around also any ability that requires attacks. Period. Like I think Black Blood, it may be one, because I think Black Blood is attacks and triggers. Like it's just
also
little things
notice
like
that it doesn't target you; it chooses you.
That is another thing. Yeah.
So, like, there's so many things that Chaos Theory screws over. I'm one of the few players that I know that will happily take two Charm Warders out of keyword, even when the opponent isn't summoning. Like, I love Charm Warders. And just going Chaos Theory, it's like, okay, it's a bit like Sandeep. I don't get to choose who takes the damage, but oh boy, are you taking some damage.
Oh yeah. I think this is actually one of the main models that makes Yoko 2 just that disgusting.
Agreed, because you can find the 13 of Crows from your discard pile. So like, yeah, Shen can do it with some Low River style shenanigans, but Yoko can just do it from the discard pile. So yeah, the fact that they've got that, the fact that they've got, as you said at the very, very start, Lantern of Souls, some factions would kill to have access to Lantern of Souls, and the fact that it not only comes in, but also on an amazing model. Yeah, okay, it's not Manos, but holy hell, no one is Manos.
Yeah.
So, and then like their basic attack action is 6 against willpower, so 8 against willpower. It can be irreducible. It can basically be focused with chi, so you don't have to take focus if you don't want to. They can gain concentrate from it. They can kill summons. Like Charm Warders, they're called this, like everyone thinks of them as this tech piece that you take in for super techie matchups. Find me a matchup where a Charm Warder isn't good. Like, they're so damn good.
Yeah. And, the one thing you might say is like, oh, well, they're not very mobile, but guess what? Shenlong doesn't care because you can just push your models around wherever you want.
Yeah, that is the weakness of them in Qian Gong. So, like, do I want to spend my master AP to gather intel on this Charm Order? Not really. I'm going to do it, but I'm not happy about it. But do I want to spend a totem AP to push this Charm Order 6 into the perfect spot so that he drains their hand and then turns off their demise? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. So yeah, I love Charm Orders. I'm a massive proponent of them, and give them a try.
Photon talked about how the sculpts are cool with the Qian Gong, or with the Charm Warder models. They remind me of that like South Park episode where Randy gets cancer on purpose and is like, just balls just are like a huge bouncing ball, and it just looks like they're bouncing on top of that. It makes me laugh every time I play them. So good.
I'm gonna be honest.
Do you guys have those kids' toys, the Space Hopper?
Yep.
There you go.
Yeah, it's one of those, isn't it?
Yeah, we call it something else. I don't remember it being called Space Hoppers, but yeah, we did have them. It's like
I don't know what they're called for you guys, but yeah, we call them Space Hoppers, and you just bounce about on them.
It's like ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching.
yeah. It's like a pogo stick, but
Pogo
inflatable and a lot less.
I think that's what we call it, pogo sticks. But I wanted to mention this is a nice aside. That is my favorite looking keyword. I'm just really bad at it. I'm talking about Qian Gong. I'm talking about Qian Gong specifically. I was
going to say monks. Jesus Christ, right?
No. I don't like monks. I really don't. They
me neither. I absolutely hate the aesthetic of them.
Yeah, I wish there was more.
I painted mine like Dragon Ball Z.
Well, yeah, but the color scheme is literally the only thing that's good about them. Yeah, literally the only thing.
Sometimes a good paint job will make.
I wish there were more females as well. Like like Weird does such an amazing job of diversity, and I think like the Shenlong keyword is one where they've kind of dropped the ball a little bit.
Yeah. Pete putting the Dragon Ball Z on the chat.
Yeah.
But yeah, long story short, Charm Warders are just amazing models. Every like tier, and it's surprising because they've been strong like S tier models for like the entirety of M3. I don't know how they were or if they were an M2E, but the entire time they've been out of keyword picks. They've been solid, and I've never seen them touch, and I don't want them to be touched.
Do you know what's another strong model?
I mean, we haven't even talked about leverage.
Oh,
I'm sorry. What was that, Draysen?
We haven't even talked about leverage. Like, if you do declare so you can say, like, oh, well, Shady Dealings is amazing, so I'm going to declare my schemes nice and early. Well, okay, thanks for the free pass tokens. You've just turned my Shenlong into Yoko too.
Yeah.
So you can't get around them. Anyway, sorry, speaking of strong models.
I was going to say, on to the next strong models. Hey, kids, look, Pete's playing the Four Winds Golem again. This model, I mean, I'm not going to go too deep into it because I talk about this model a lot. It's just fast. It's got leap. So the thing it adds, obviously Up We Go is good. The thing it adds for Shenlong, though, that I found is it's a great battery because it just loads up on Chi as your crew does. And that means first activation, you can go, I'm going to activate a student, concentrate. Hey, look, my Four Winds Golem now has Chi on it. I can transfer that to Shenlong. Okay, go.
Yeah, I think that is something that we should talk about because it's a significant difference from when you played him in Sandeep. It's just that you also already know how to use the model offensively.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like really
it's like
funny to see you also learn this other side.
Yeah, I know. It's been good because I do see it. Obviously,
Four Winds Golem is absolutely superb.
Yeah, obviously you don't get the Soulstone Cache. That is, sad because Soulstone Cache is really good on it. But yeah, they're like, I'm still kidnapping models. I'm still reducing damage. I'm getting into crews, throwing people around in terrain. It's doing all the great Four Winds Golem stuff. I don't know if you have anything else to add about it, Draysen, but it's just really good.
The only thing I would say is that, yes, you are giving up on the Soulstone Cache, and of course, everyone in Thunders would give their left testicle for Soulstone Cache. But what you gain is the ability to give it fast.
Yep.
With Shen, and then the ability to effectively give it fast again by giving it Shen's bonus action, asking it to take his own bonus action. So he basically gets to take a free leap, gain fast, gain 2 focus that Shen can shift to something else, and then he can activate, leap again, and then he's got 3 AP and 2 focus to go to town.
Yep.
So in terms of the offensive output, Thunder's Four Winds Golem is actually probably better than the Arcanist's one, but that still doesn't make up for Soulstone Cache. Should tell you how good Soulstone Cache is. Yeah. So that's yeah.
Soulstone Cache. I'm like using the Four Winds Golem in Sandeep actively to just harvest souls for Soulstones. It's just you're just dunking models, getting that back, scoring points. But I will say, a fast Wind Golem is stupid good. Like, I've gotten that in a handful of games where I'm just like, you're reaching out and touching your opponent wherever you want.
Yep, you just dunk on them. And there are times when people choose a deployment which has the hazardous in it because they don't want to have the hazardous in your deployment or out on the map or like whatever. So they like try and safely tuck it away in their own deployment. And then a fast pre-leaped Four Winds Golem turns up and goes, thanks very much. Dunkity 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 dunk. And your backline just gets splatted. Yep. So, yeah. I think that it's an amazing model. It's a Chi battery. I think you very rarely don't want to take it. I think there are situations when you might not take it. So, for example, if somebody has 33 in their list, then you don't get to control where you move for the majority of the time. That's incredibly irritating. And where they have gravity well, where they can have a big circle of nope, is also very unpleasant. So I think that those are 2 situations where you might consider not taking the Four Winds Golem. Additionally, into things like Lucius 2, who might just come up and 2-shot him, or maybe even Seamus 1, who can, in certain circumstances, do that as well. So, yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you a quick question about him. With the teacher being able to hand out the upgrades, do you think that giving the goal, since the golem has like such an easy way to get Chi, getting suits automatically, do you think that maybe could be a thing? I just like the concept of the teacher, even though that I know for a fact you guys are right because of the numbers don't lie. Shenlong 1, GG. But like, I want the teacher to be good.
So I think that style of thinking has led to some of the best innovations in the game, and that you should never stop thinking like that, even if the result turns out to be not what you were hoping for. I think that's an amazing way to think. So, point one, light applause. Point two is the only problem with that is that he already has the one trigger that you want built in on his gun. Yeah. So the collision trigger is built in on his gun. And yes, sometimes you'd wish it was built in on his up we go, but would you spend a chi on it? Yeah, you probably would, but is that worth taking the teacher? Absolutely not.
Okay.
And also, like, one of the reasons to take the teacher is to give butterfly jump to things that have no right to have butterfly jump, but he already has it. So it's like, oh, well, he already has the trigger built in on his gun. He already has butterfly leap on his card. Like, what more does he want here? He already has a 2-inch engagement. He's one of the few things that does. So does he really want fermented? No. And if he needs to get around negative flips, well, he'll just spend a chi and he's done it. So, like, I think the problem that you've got there is that while that's incredibly cute, and maybe there's something I haven't quite thought of, for example, oh, come on now, is it called Gale Force?
Yes.
The tome trigger on his gun.
Yeah.
So that can be very, very spicy against things like Nikima 2, who've got like a corpse marker in the middle of 8 models and they're just getting ready to do it. And then you go leap and goodbye, kiss goodbye to your corpse marker and your entire unpack. Have a great day. And also now I'm going to leap back this way. I'll see you next turn. You could see that, but I think you might be better just taking some card draw and a good master and just cheating the tome.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and before we get into out of keyword,
nice idea though.
Yeah, before we get out of keyword picks, I did want to see if there were any other minions, because that's mostly what we have left is minions that you want to give a quick shout to as far as monk goes, because I see some things.
Low River's the only one you've not mentioned.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, he's a healer, right? Is there anything else you like doing with him besides just kind of healing everybody up and kind of getting chi for everybody else to use or for him to use? It's
that he can heal so much once. It's that he can just dump 6 into Shenlong. If anyone commits to anything and they don't finish the job, Low River says you've just lost the game. And meanwhile, he's a significant model with move 5. And he only costs 4 points.
Yes.
And meanwhile, he's got a bunch of chi, and his melee attack, like, he's a great model for sitting on your own rear raid marker and just sitting there. And if something tries to kill him, they'd better get through the chi, because if not, he auto heals for 2 at the start of his activation. And then he just sits there and hits them repeatedly with chi and just puts distracted on them, dealing 1 damage distracted, 1 damage distracted, and then that's it. And they can't get out of that loop. So I think for 4 points, he's an incredibly good value piece. Does he need to be in every list? Absolutely not. Should you consider him? Absolutely.
I just want to point out this model I bring out a keyword in McCabe often. Because
I used to until Host Ducat was released.
I don't disagree with that. I haven't actually tested.
But it's a very good point.
Yeah, I haven't actually tested Ducat that heavily. I played only like 1 game so far. That being said, this model before Host Ducat came out, I would just give it the Silent Protector upgrade, and for some ungodly reason, that was just like backbreaking to some of my opponents. Because they just couldn't overcome the fact that, like, 1, this thing is just going to heal something for, like, 8.
Like hard to kill,
and then
right?
2, he's just like, oh, I'm hard to kill. I'm in the back. I heal automatically if I activate. So if you fail to murder me, guess what? I'm back, baby. But yeah, that I just wanted to point out, this model before, like, certain releases came out, he was a fantastic... And I still think he's great outside of keyword pick.
And the last one...
yes.
The last one I wanted to kind of touch on real quick, because I have multiple people who are telling me to try this model, and I'm curious what you think, Draysen. Shout out to Jesse. And I think Lance plays this model quite a bit too, is the Thunder Archer. I don't know how you feel about it in Monk, but there's some things there that I can see. I just don't know if it's worth taking the spot of some of those other models. So just kind of curious what you think about it, Draysen.
In the spirit of Dixon's earlier thinking about how a model might be good, I have tried to make the Thunder Archer work, and I've put it into lists where I thought this is its time. Here we go, which is to say, like, into into some Neverborn stuff, so into Dreamer, into Nikima, where I'm thinking, right, I've got little, we're good, aren't we? I was going to say, are we swearing on this? So you've got the little shitters that are, I just naturally say that all the time, and I was like, hang on a second, I couldn't remember.
You saw it.
We're not going super family friendly. All right, cool. So Assassin suddenly comes into its own when AP efficiency is a really serious problem for chewing through a Nikima 2 list that's throwing Terratots at you and has 4 dogs. You need to be able to chew through an enormous number of shitters, and you need to be able to do that effectively and efficiently. And so being able to ignore incorporeal on, for example, daydreams and insidious madness and this kind of thing, to be able to attack with effectively stat 8, to be able to stagger stuff, to be able to get blast and all this, and then you're thinking, well, I've also got target practice, and you never know when that's just going to win you a VP, and so there's a lot on their card that makes you feel, and they ignore friendly fire, they ignore concealment, they ignore incorporeal, and you're thinking there's got to be enough here for there's got to be enough here to make this work. I'll tell you there isn't.
I do want to point out how the mighty have fallen. This model used to be disgusting in like GG0 and GG1. And progressively, as the game has gotten new models and GGs have changed, he's just falling out of favor. He's not a bad model, but like priorities have changed drastically enough that he has fallen out of favor, which is kind of interesting.
I mean, I can see that. It has that feel of a model that was previously good enough, and good enough isn't good enough anymore. Yeah. And so we come on to, it's not okay for me to simply say, oh, that, all of this stuff on their card is good, and yet they aren't. That's not okay. I can't do that. I need to back that up. So here's how I back that up. This is a 7-point model. And it is an output model. So in a crew, you have different models which have different roles. Some are designed to support and increase the output of your output models. So they either give them focus, they give them fast, they move them. In other words, they give them AP because they don't have to walk, or they remove conditions from them, or whatever it is that they do to make that output model. Often we refer to output models as beaters, but I think beaters are doing it in melee, whereas an output model could be a shooter, it could be a beater, it could be whatever it is, but whatever is going to put your resources onto the board. So whatever you're looking at your hand and you're saying, here's my 13, here's my 12, and here's the model that's going to spend them to do the most output. That's what I mean by that. So what a Thunder Archer is an output model, but it's quite a resource-intensive output model. Oh, yeah. It requires an 8, and preferably an 8 of tomes on its bonus in order to get blast, which you kind of need to make its output worthwhile, because that's one of the reasons why you're taking it. Mm-hmm. And then you're going to need that free focus, because otherwise you have to take a support model. So now you're not only putting 7 points in the Thunder Archer, you're putting another 6 in a Kunoichi, or whatever it is, 6 plus 1, to give it focus. So, or you're spending a Shenlong AP, God forbid, on giving two focus to this Thunder Archer, which means you're also spending a totem activation, generating those 2 focus in the first place. So that's so it's a 7-point model. And in order to make it sing, in order to make it do what it wants to do and put the output that it's capable of on the table, you need to spend the sort of resources that you could otherwise spend on Shen.
Oh yeah. No. Like a quick explanation of what this model used to do in GG0 and GG1, which is still good, but it's expensive, like you explained, very card intensive. It was just simply put aggressive chi or shadow pin. Those 2 things on his range attack were just disgusting. I mean, they're still disgusting, but like nowadays, having Sensei Yu give him fast and also like kind of babysitting him is no longer like a game-winning strategy, because now you have 2 pieces that are kind of like stuck in your side of the table. And this GG specifically, I mean, GG3 also wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna stay on my deployment zone, herpader. So you have to like move on the table, but now you have to more aggressively move on the table. Well, and this is too much of a static piece.
And here's the thing, right? And this is kind of moving us towards versatile and not a keyword. It's like, whenever I look at a gun in 10 Thunders, like, yeah, it uses chi and it does some of the stuff Monk wants to do, but for 1 soul stone more, you can get yourself a Fuhatsu. And it's a 2-4-6 with crit strike. It's like, come on now.
So that's the funny thing. You're sitting there thinking, okay, I ignore incorporeal, so I can shoot my incorp for 2-3-4, and that makes me a 3-4-5 model. Okay, but if I'm going to invest that much in shooting an incorp model, I'm going to put a severe into it. So I'd rather hit it for 6. 6 down to 5 rather than your 4 down to 4.
And 6 takes out most incorp models.
Yeah. I mean, and to clarify earlier, because you said the 8, or you need an 8 of tomes. Yes, and the main reason for that is he has a bonus action that makes his attacks also splash damage. And it is worth mentioning as well, the triggers that we're talking about, aggressive chi doesn't care about target. It is all models damaged.
That is actually true.
Yeah, I have nightmares about this model back in the day. Like in GG1 and GG0, this model is a murderer. And it's still a murderer. The game hasn't changed about the model. It's just the goal of the game has shifted to more mobility.
I think the one time when you might consider it is when you're sort of saying, okay, well, why would I never not just take Fuhatsu? Because, like, this model ignores friendly fire. So does Fuhatsu, because he's 6+. But, like, Fuhatsu also then gives you that plus flip anytime that you don't have friendly fire. So he's actually better than ignoring friendly fire. And then, Fuhatsu doesn't ignore incorporeal, right? But he just deals more damage. And that ignores incorporeal, effectively. And then, okay, he doesn't, blah, 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 blah. Like, the Fuhatsu pick's generally good. The only time that it isn't, is against things like Tara. So it's when Fuhatsu's victim stats actually matter, or against McCabe too. Yeah,
I mean, also the irreducible damage. Irreducible damage against armor is better than Fuhatsu. It's just straight.
Well, here's the problem with that. So a Thunder Archer hits 2-3-4, right? Yeah. So you hit them for 4, and that is irreducible. So the 4 goes through.
Yeah.
Fuhatsu hits them for 6, their armor 2, the 4 goes through.
But you can
reduce even in the very best case for the Thunder Archer?
No, but you can reduce it with Soul Stones and Shielding. That's what I'm saying. Armor is like the difference, because there are other factors in the game that also reduce damage, and when added to armor, the layering that we keep talking about. So that's the reason why, like, irreducible is the only thing that he has over Fuhatsu. And again, it is incredibly powerful. And if you're playing Monk or Last Blossom, he's only 7 points, which is 1 cheaper than Fuhatsu. So again, there are places where he's better. It's just that it's easier to plug Fuhatsu most of the time.
Very often. And then there is the point that Fuhatsu can heal himself, but that's, they are different models, and they do very similar things aggressively. They behave quite differently defensively. Thunder Archer plays like the rest of the monks. He wants you to miss, and he wants to get his defensive trigger off if he can. Fuhatsu accepts that you're going to hit and just doesn't care that much, and then heals it up. So that's fine. I don't think the Thunder Archer is generally worth putting the resources in to put his output out, and you're just better off putting that into Shen. I'll tell you, here's a point. If you're playing Teacher and you don't have Shen 1 to put all your resources into, then you might want to have a Thunder Archer in addition to your other output model, because you're going to need more output because you've foregone Shen 1. You've chosen to reduce your output. So then you might want more output models that you can feed, and Teacher might, start to click. Don't know, not tried it, but that's somewhere where you might want to try it.
So what is your favorite out of keyword model to bring with Shenlong 1 specifically?
Desper.
The old light-fingered Desper.
The old give me all your soul stones Desper.
So I guess my question is, what makes you want to bring Desper plus a Wandering River Monk? Because they kind of fit some similar roles. So what do you like with Desper then?
Well, GG4 rewards you for having more of that role. Leapers are just king in GG4. You cannot go wrong with Leapers. So there's that. But it's more of a case of being able to steal stones is a rarity in Malifaux, and for good reason. It's incredibly strong. So the fact that all of a sudden Shen goes from being able to blend half their crew to being able to blend all their crew because their stone users have gone. And so now he's going in and saying, well, I'm on stat 8 and I am going to dome you for 5. And there's nothing you can do anymore. is just massive. The ability of Desper to stun certain things with the stunning strike on the stone theft is huge. He can gain stones back from corpse markers that are left around, so if he ends his activation near corpses, he starts to pay for himself back. So basically the reason that I like Desper is that he so often pays for himself. Every time he steals a stone, that's -1 for them, +1 for you. That's a 2-stone swing. If he does that twice, that's a 4-stone swing. He goes from costing 8 +1 down to costing 4 +1. And then if he ever gets to eat a corpse marker for the rest of the turn, he's just paid his own out of keyword tax. Thanks very much. And then meanwhile, he's got Don't Mind Me. It makes him incredibly good for plant explosives. It makes him incredibly good for, practically anything, stuff the ballots, all of those things.
He also ignores terrain and models.
And he also ignores models, terrain, hazardous. If they place him into hazardous, you don't care because that won't trigger it. Yes, when he activates, he'll take 1 for getting out of it again, but okay. And then he's just randomly got an armor ignoring crit striking built blade that really isn't bad. He can just. I had a Desper just randomly delete my 4 Winds Golem the other day. He just went severe stoned for double crit, and then smacked him again and cheated for double crit, and that's a dead 4 Winds Golem. So like you can underestimate Desper at your peril, and generally speaking, he'll get some serious value. Can you sometimes just misposition him and then spend 1,000,000 stones trying to keep him alive and fail, and then he dies, and then you're sad? Yes, you can absolutely do that. He's a high skill cap model. He's not an easy one to play. You can absolutely mess him up. I did it this morning. It almost cost me the game. But is he incredibly good? Yes, he is. Yes.
Yeah, it definitely takes some reps to kind of, and it's kind of the same thing with the Wandering River Monks, where it really takes a skill to kind of thread the needle of getting your value, interacting with your opponents, but not putting yourself in a spot to die, because Desper is a killable model. He will absolutely die.
Yeah. Yep. And again, going back to that, when we were saying if you're a new player and you're trying to get used to Shenlong, like just play Wandering River style. In the same way, if you're a new player and you're trying to get used to Desper and Wandering River Monk, take 1 less walk than you think you should take. So whenever you're thinking, I'll just take 1 more walk and get closer to it. No. Stay the fuck where you are and concentrate. And you will not regret it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also, random, all good tip. The grappling hook, the "You're coming with me" trigger does not care about enemy or friendly. Sometimes you'll hit your friend just so that you can be up the board. Do not forget it. That is literally the most interesting way to move around the table with Desper. So keep it in mind.
Yeah, and feel free to do that to a Sunless Self who won't take any damage.
Yeah, it's true. That is true.
And then, by the way, you'll then be base to base with something giving you concealing.
I like it.
It is money. Desper's just money. But in terms of any other out of keyword stuff, what's your favorite? What have you found so far?
So I thought I would like Sun Wukong better, but I feel like I don't. Just because I tell you what, I did try Desper and I did like Desper. Sun Wukong wasn't a huge fan of. I tell you what, I liked Raijin more than I thought I would. Obviously, I'd lean more towards him when I think there's going to be more markers. But also putting out Stunned is just really good. And obviously, Tongguan's a beast, so anytime you feel like you need to protect yourself a little bit, just bring him.
Yeah, I just see you also pushing him a lot. Like, it's just like, you're aspiring students doing work for no reason by pushing Raijin around. I'm like, I hate this so much. It's
just extra. Because essentially you can make those tests. What does that make it? At least 4 times throughout the turn, because twice for the student if you really want to do one with Shen, even though you probably wouldn't. And then obviously his activation when he comes in. So yeah, there's just 4 opportunities just to be like, cool, I'll take, TN, whatever it is, 13, I think, or whatever it is.
And then his Shockwave on top of that for more tests. Yeah, I've played a lot of Lin 1 lists. Oh yeah, it's just nasty. I played Lin 1 lists where I don't think there was an activation I took where Raijin wasn't moved somehow. And my opponent was playing a Reva 2 bubble and was just very upset.
Yeah. So out of the keyword stuff, I've kind of still been playing with, but those are the ones that I've kind of mostly started messing with. There's some spicier ones that I want to try. Like I want to try Kitty. I don't know if she adds anything to the crew, but maybe pushing Shenlong another 6 inches could be interesting. I don't know, but yeah, there's a couple models I'm going to start playing with out of keyword.
Kitty.
I think she adds more for other crews than
instinctively. It feels excessive.
Yeah,
I think it feels excessive. I think you might take Kitty in a situation where you have a reason. The thing is, right, what I was going to say then is you might take her when you have a reasonable expectation that your totems are going to die, so that you've still got the ability to move around even then. Yeah. But I think in that case, I'd rather just take Than and then not have my totems die, and then have Than.
Yeah, because it's a 4-inch push, right? I think with his bonus. Is that right?
You mean his Righteous Protector thing?
Yeah.
3, yeah. He gets a 3-inch move, ignoring models.
Yeah. Tongguan's just
so like Than's nuts. All the story models are pretty much, well, no, all of the story models except for Suzaku are pretty much nuts. So yeah, I think those are good outer keyword picks. What other ones? I mean, like Bill Algren's always worth considering. Yeah. I think you can consider Maddox. You can absolutely consider Fuhatsu, and probably should. I think if I'm not taking Desperate, I'm usually taking Fuhatsu if I'm taking out of keyword stuff.
So let me ask you a question here, because I think a lot of people have the new Stab It Rabbit. So is there a list where the Lone Swordsman might be decent with Shenlong, or maybe other crews? I don't know. I haven't played the Lone Swordsman, so I don't know.
You take the Lone Swordsman when you want to take Fuhatsu, but there's a reason why you can't. So either they have a crew that for some reason has a bunch of hard to wound. That's where Fuhatsu really struggles, and where Lone Swordsman really excels, because he can get to plus on damage and get through the hard to wound. I very often take Lone Swordsman against Molly, because he dunks on Kruligans and Archie.
Oh, so good.
And Philip and the Nanny as well. Like mathematically, he just dunks on the entire thing. So whenever they have hard to wound, or whenever the table is covered in blocking terrain, so then you know that Fuhatsu's going to have problems if he's not paired with Sidir to get rid of the cover. Because the one thing that Fuhatsu does not like is having to hit them on min damage, right? He has to get that severe to do what he wants to do, and when he can't do that, that's when you take Lone Swordsman. And is Lone Swordsman good in Shen and the Stab It Rabbit? Yeah, he likes being pushed around. He likes being pushed by little guys and getting into his spot.
He likes having focus.
Yeah,
being fast.
He'll take that. He'll take fast. Yeah, well, thank you very much. I'll take my 3 last breath attacks.
Yeah, I think it's like any good model that doesn't like to walk, Shenlong can just make them really enjoy life.
Yep. So to answer your question, yeah, could people play Lone Swordsman in Shenlong? Yeah, hell yes, they could. Do I personally? No, I don't. Why? Because I've lost a lot of tournament games by flipping a black on a Lone Swordsman activation and taking 4 irreducible, or being obeyed.
Obey is a problem.
Oh, man. So that just upsets me too much, and I have flashbacks. So that's but I like the idea, and I think that's a cool thing to mention. Cool idea.
Yeah, and getting into the strategies and schemes as we're kind of wrapping this thing up. This is a little longer, but we're enjoying the talk. Yeah, the strategies, I feel like he can do all of them. The schemes where you have to put down a crap ton of scheme markers, so like information overload, I don't love that one with Shenlong, just because I think Shen has to, literally everything pretty much drops, like has to interact to drop a scheme marker. There's not a lot of easy scheme marker dropping in this crew.
Well,
that's the only one I've seen that's kind of difficult.
Counterpoint, I'm not disagreeing, but counterpoint is you can, so in order to score, so they're going to get the second point. If they're playing a crew that's going for info overload, they're going to out scheme you unless you flat murder them. But to get
Murder's
the first
always
point,
an option,
those schemes, yeah, murder is always an option, especially when you're playing Shen. Is if they are trying to put their scheme markers on your half, which they have to outnumber you on your half, then you can 4 winds punch those models right back over the line. Thank you very much, goodbye. So you can deny the first point even when they out scheme you 10 to 1. So I think there is a minor little, caveat there that you can play to deny it, but they're going to get the 1 point. Generally, if anyone's taking a scheme in which they're only going to score 1 point against me, I'm delighted. I think I don't think there's a pool you can build that Shen can't play. I don't think there's a strategy you can pick where Shen is weak, and I don't think. This is why I think he's one of the best masters in the game.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. Like, that's the only one. Like, I think saying you can deny it's a really strong call out, because I think you absolutely can. But, and the thing is, you could still bring like 2 Wandering River Monks and probably do information overload. That would just be what they're doing that game.
Yeah, or you could bring that Wukong that you mentioned. So generally speaking, I agree. I don't think you need Wukong in Shen, but if there's info overload and you've got any aspirations of scoring it, slap Wukong right in there. I would also say having 1 or 2 terracottas whose only job in life is to go interact, walk, interact, walk, interact, walk, interact, walk, and draw me a card, and just be basically drawing their own map of Pac-Man.
Yep.
Is an absolutely fine thing to do for 4 points in an info overload pool. So I think there are options, and I think Shen can play whatever you want, and it's one of the beauties of playing him. So while I don't think his crew is nice to look at, I think aesthetically they're very unpleasing, but of course some people like the monk aesthetic, and more power to them. But the amount of options and ways that you can build differently, and the amount of strategies, even if you played the exact same crew, you could play it completely differently one turn than another one. If you go with Shen, switch to low river and heal 3 times, that's infinitely different than going in, pushing yourself, and then doing 6 onslaught attacks. Like, that's just infinitely different with the exact same models on the table. So the options that you have are very compelling.
Now, I was kicking this around the other day with In Your Face. I was sitting there thinking, I'm like, do you just bring no 8 stone models against Shenlong? Because I feel like if you bring 1 or 2 8 stone models, Shenlong just can pretty much guaranteed score In Your Face. I feel like there's not a lot of situations I'm like, oh, I can't score In Your Face. Do you think that's a viable strategy? Or at that point, you're bringing too squishy of a list and then it just falls apart to Shenlong anyways?
A bit like when we spoke about info overload, I feel like what you do there is you accept that they're going to score the first point, and then you can kill the Four Winds Golem. So you know that the Four Winds Golem is likely, you know that it has to be their In Your Face target, unless they also bring Zheng, at which point I think you're probably happy, because that's a lot of stones in 2 models, and I think you can probably win other ways. So I think you plan for the Four Winds Golem and go accordingly. If you happen to be one of those few factions that can build a legitimate list with a bunch of 7-stone stuff, absolutely, that's viable. You can because Shen is going to play In Your Face the majority of the time. He absolutely is. There are some masters that are like that, like Lin 2. Lin 2 is taking In Your Face every goddamn time.
Oh yeah.
So, you know.
Okay.
So I think it's legit. You can build around In Your Face, but I don't think you have to. I think you can build around the second point and just take a model that can deal with a butterfly jump.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Big lad.
Yeah, was there any other schemes that you either would call out as being strong in the keyword, or one that maybe you don't take as much?
I think I mentioned it in my guide on Shen, which is on YouTube in case anyone wants to just go and take a look. I mean, I'm not plugging it, I'm not bothered, but if it helps you, feel free to go and have a look. But there's stuff like Ensnare is an interesting one that Shen can do because of the Four Winds Punch. So because you can like set up your schemes in advance and then Four Winds Punch them to wherever you need them to be and just plop them down, that can be something that people don't expect Shen maybe to score so much. They're not worried about it. It's not like when you see a Huckster and you know Ensnare's coming. But he can do it just as well as they can. And for the same reason, Deathbeds is really, really good for Shen because he can get his monk buddy to push him into the range of whatever he wants to kill. He takes the scheme marker with him, so he brings his own scheme marker to the party, brings that next to the strategy, and then murders the thing that he wanted to murder anyway. Tasty, tasty murder. But now with deathbed points. So yeah, those ones are particularly good. I don't think any of the other ones are especially Shen favored. I just don't think any of them are difficult for Shen to score. I love sweating bullets with Shen because you can put it on Sensei Yu. He can't be moved away. He can't really be killed in a meaningful fashion, and you're not going to kill Yu and Shenlong. So scoring the endpoint is hell. I love sweating bullets.
Yeah, and Photon in the chat kind of asked the question that I think a lot of people ask, and we've alluded to here and there. But if you're either a new person, but if you're trying to figure out a way to play against Monk, what kind of advice would you give them? Like kind of that student of conflicts question of like, okay, what advice do you give to people that do line up against Shenlong, and what are some tricks or tips? There we go, that they should have going into it.
Well, I mean, I've blathered on a lot. I mean, why don't you kick us off? Like, what do you think? You've got 25 fresh games with him, and I'm interested. Like, what would you say? Or Dixon, sorry.
Yeah, it's fine. As an opponent, because like I play against him a lot, literally focusing fire, and I do mean like any throwaway attack that you can throw into the same model over and over again. It is more effective against Monk than pretty much any other keyword that I played against. Because eventually they run out of chi, and when that happens, they can't take damage very well.
Yeah, I think the first thing I would kind of look out for is look for the models that don't have chi on them. Like if your opponent uses chi and all of a sudden they're at 0, I think that's a good target to go into. And then also the totems, that's something that can be a target, but you don't want to overextend to get the totems because then you just get beat up by the crew. And then if you have a good beater schemer to take care of the Wandering River Monks or whatever flankers that they put on there, I think bringing a strong model to deal with those would also be good. So things that do ping damage, like unresisted damage, is also just ridiculous. It's just strong in the game. So if I was playing like a Ulix 2, right, where I could just bump into a Stampede, now I'm putting Burning on you, then I'm going to do Bacon Beeline, you're going to take another 2 unresisted. You can really start hurting a lot of Monk models that way. So conditions are also pretty good, just not on Shen, because actually, I tell you what, there was a game I played Lance where he did that to try and bait out chi on Shenlong. He threw Shenlong into a cactus. I discarded a chi to not get injured. And then he did it again. I'm like, okay, I can't do this every time because then I'm just out of chi. But you could really see a Shenlong player making a mistake and just keep discarding the chi to not get injured. So I think that you can really put the Monk player into a bad position where they have to make hard decisions on what they're going to use their chi on.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's kind of interesting. Like, the keyword is very, very good at dodging.
It gave me super hard Sandeep feels, man. When I started playing this keyword, I was like, it gave me the same hit in the vein where I'm just like, yes, this is a keyword I'm enjoying.
I think bouncing off what Pete said, and also Dixon, is just throwaway attacks. It was important to be really specific. Throwaway attacks against the same model. Do not throw away attacks against different models, because each one will just spend a chi and they'll be all right with it. But if you spend it against the same model, yeah, that can work.
Oh, yeah.
And then bouncing off what you were saying, I've forgotten that line, so I'm going to go on another line, which is Shen can do almost anything, and he can switch what he does based on what you do. So he can kill, he can move around, he can move scheme markers, he can do whatever he wants to do. So I think trying to play around everything that he can do is almost impossible. And so what I think it's better to do is to do what you do really, really well. I've watched people get so obsessed with how can I counter? Okay, I'm going to counter this. I'm going to take this because it's good against the Four Winds Golem, and I'm going to take this because it doesn't care about laugh off, and he can go into Sensei Yu, and I can do this because it doesn't care about irreducible damage. And I'm going to counter everything that you do. And then it's like, okay, but what are you going to do? What are you going to do that I need to care about? You have to. Because he can do so many different things and you don't get to decide what he does, so you don't know what he does. And what he's going to do is he's going to pick the weakest thing that you did and he's going to pounce on it. Yep. So make sure that there isn't the weakest thing that you did. Just do your thing and do it solidly well. Do it strongly. ask good questions that are difficult to answer. So that's a more general thing. And then the other thing is, and I would bounce back to what I said earlier, which is I think killing totems efficiently, fantastic idea. Killing them even slightly inefficiently is probably still good enough. And then the other thing is that what Pete said about killing Wandering River Monks and models like that, what that does, if you kill a Wandering River Monk, very often a 4 wins golem that costs twice as much has to go and do what the Wandering River Monk was going to do. So instead of doing what it wants to do, which is murder your backline into pieces, it's now having to go leap, interact, walk.
Yes.
And it's super sad.
Yeah, you lower his impact quite a bit. That being said, I have a couple of examples from just playing around with other keywords and stuff. Lucius in Guild is like almost built. Anybody that's stat 7 basically, freaking Nekima in Neverborn, there are multiple keywords that do ping damage or stat 7 or do something when they like land. Anything that you can get off for free, they eat away at pretty much anything that the monks want to do. It's not guaranteed, but it's definitely going to give you an edge.
Yeah, and a good example of this, right, is you kind of wait because I think it can be difficult to pilot Shenlong well. So I think you can almost kind of do what you're doing, but wait for an opening. Like I played a game last year in Houston where the Shenlong player came into my crew and he ended up killing a model, but then I just activated Banasuva and just tossed him 10 inches into my deployment zone. And then I just walked past him. And now he's separated from his crew, so you don't get all the synergy. He has to spend walk actions to get back in useful territory. And if he came into me again, I'm just like, cool, I'm going to toss you again. Whoop.
Yeah, I mean, I do want to point out, because somebody's going to tell you this. It's like, but Pete, he's just going to use a chi, be above Banasuva, and just dodge the attack. I'm like, you're still eating away at the resources.
Because Banasuva has a... He's not, though, because Banasuva's stat is stat 4 on the toss.
Wait, what? I thought it was only 3.
Nope, stat 4.
No shit, my bad.
Turns out.
Seems good.
That's why I did it, because I'm like, I got a 13. Unless you have the red Joker, you're going over there.
I've remembered what I was going to say earlier, which was that, and again, it was bouncing off what Pete was saying, which is you can very, very easily pressure a Shen player into making mistakes. So Shen is very, very strong, but it is very easy to make mistakes, and the number of mistakes that you force from your opponent by pressuring them, making them make choices about their they're not playing Dota, about their chi and their Shen activations and what he wants to do, and about their cards, then the more you can do that, the more chances you give them to mess up and spend chi where they shouldn't. His example about being thrown into a cactus and deciding whether to take that injured or not is a really good example of that. So put them in situations where I'm giving you Shen staggered. Do you want to do something about that?
Yeah.
And then sometimes you can bait it the other way. You can be like, well, I'm giving you staggered. Do you want to spend a chi? Huh? And they go, no, I'm not spending a chi. Fuck you. And then you're like, great, you can't be 4-winch punched anymore. It's like, and you're going to have to spend an AP to transfer it to me, and I don't give a goddamn. So, yeah, there are a lot of ways that can go well for you, and I think pressurizing is a great idea.
Yeah, well, I think 2 hours and 20 minutes is long enough on the TED Talk here. Plus, I know we'll put a link to your channel here, Draysen, because you also had other great info there as well. But I did want to give you kind of a last word here to kind of just say anything else that randomly you have on top of your head about Shenlong and playing this flexible keyword.
Oh, well, first of all, thank you very much for having me. I've really enjoyed it. So, I mean, you've just said it's 2 hours 20. I'm like, holy hell, it actually is. Good Lord. That is far too much. So apologies for the problem is I can just talk Malifaux forever. I love it. Good. But in terms of the plug thing, I would say if you know that that there's a particularly epic game of Malifaux coming up, and it should be recorded. It should be seen by the world. Please do send me a PM. I've been known to set an alarm at 3 o'clock in the morning just to come and witness some good Malifaux. And even if I just set the recording going and go back to bed, I would still like to do it and get it out there. I think there aren't enough just general games being put out there, so I would appreciate being given a heads up if there's a good match coming up. I do look out for them, but I do sometimes miss them, and then I'm sad. Right, and then in terms of the last words on Shen, I want people to play Ban Ying as much as possible, and I want them to come back and tell me about it and tell me why he's good and when he's good and when he's bad. And I want that is a model. That is the one that is like a question mark that hands over Shen for me. And if people want to chat to me about it, I'm all ears. Come and have a chat.
Yeah, getting some. And, I don't want to hear like, oh, he just draws cards and, the Sunless Elves and blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, but what are you actually doing with him? Like, how is he? I'm more interested on how he's going to win you the game. What points is he scoring you? Which I've definitely found some good uses for. So, yeah, definitely let us know that, because I want to see how he's doing in Monk, but also really curious when out of keyword he's being useful for people as well. Dixon, what about you? You got any last minute chats?
Just another, again, a plug, Houston GT. If anybody, even if it's just take a look at it, even for next year, it is no joke the best tournament Malifaux has right now, at least in my opinion. Just take a look, see if you can actually make it any point in time this year or next.
Yeah, we're actually
wish you guys the very best of luck with that tournament. Sounds great.
Yeah, we're probably gonna have Doug on here probably sometime in the next month or so to plug that. So it'll be fun to talk about the pools.
Yeah, every year we do it. As soon as he has it ready, let's get him on.
Yep. But until next time, thanks for everybody for listening to this one. And until next time, flip cards and flip tables, and we'll see y'all later.
Cheers.